of District 30 Council Member and President Pro Tem of the Council, Sandra Sepulveda. Go ahead, sir.
Padre Santo, primero que nada, te damos gracias porque tenemos poder de respirar a través de ti, Señor, porque tú eres el dador de la vida. En esta tarde te pido, Señor, que tú seas presente aquí con cada persona que tenga algún tema que traer, lo que se vaya a discutir, Padre Santo, y las cosas que están pasando en nuestro estado y en nuestra nación. Padre, te pedimos que tú seas dando tu sabiduría, dando entendimiento y discernimiento a través del poder de tu Santo Espíritu. Que, Padre, es un poder que tiene toda autoridad y que puede, Señor, cambiar las mentes y ayudar a todos, Padre, venir en unidad y entender y hacer lo mejor para tu pueblo, para tu nación. Te damos gracias y te pedimos, Señor, que en esta noche tú te glorifiques y que sea la gloria y la honra para ti, Señor. En el nombre de tu santísimo Hijo Jesús. Amén.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you, Pastor Pagan. Welcome, council and community members, to April and Earth Month. It is also Native Plants Month nationally and No Mow Month here in Nashville. 5 council members so far are joining me in not mowing their lawns this April. All right, thank you, thank you. Which helps strengthen the root system of grass, reduces erosion and stormwater runoff. Clover, violets, henbit, and other wildflowers, which I know Mr. Huffman appreciates given his wildflower work, grow in abundance when we do not mow, which supports our much needed pollinators and our food system. If an entire wildflower filled and longer grass lawn makes you uncomfortable, even though this program is Metro Codes Department approved, you may want to leave just a small section of your yard unmown and see what happens. Or if you typically mow weekly, mow every other week this month. Metro's Agricultural Extension Office has Tennessee Smart Yard resources and programs year-round, so please be sure to follow them and see what you might implement in your own yard to save yourself some time and money. When we are thinking about the environment, we also know that more public transit service and fewer individual vehicle miles traveled is very good for our air and water quality and public health. So please do be on the lookout for Transit Month opportunities throughout April. Pro Tem Sepulveda spoke to it earlier, but I'll touch on it again for those of you that were not in the room. Nashvillians may want to try transit to a soccer game or a special event downtown and avoid the parking costs and hassles. And council members, with WeGo Central just one block from our historic courthouse and city hall, Pro Tem Sepulveda and I will be in touch with you soon about trying transit for our April 14th committee meetings and or the April 15th council meeting. So find your quick ticket bus pass that you all received at the start of this term. Make sure you have the transit app on your phone and mark your calendars, okay? Speaking of calendars, today is Councilman Tom Druffle's birthday. So happy birthday, Councilman. April 1st is also the birthday of our metropolitan government. So Nashville was first in the nation to fully consolidate. I know, why of all days, right? Why did they pick that day? April 1st is also the birthday of our metropolitan government. Nashville was first in the nation to fully consolidate a city and a county. The mayor, vice mayor, and the 40-member council were inaugurated on April 1st, 1963 at the then recently opened Municipal Auditorium. Members, regarding items on your desk, there is a memo announcing a vacancy on the Human Relations Commission and a notice regarding vacancies on the Cheatham County Rail Authority and the Nashville and Eastern Rail Authority. We'll take nominations at the next council meeting on April 15th. Additionally, there is a rules refresher, this time on deferrals, which was also linked in your April newsletter from me that you will have received on Sunday morning. Okay, Without objection, we will suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to please record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes of the meeting of March 18th, 2025? Okay, there's a motion properly seconded. Without objection, and seeing no one seeking to be recognized for a change to the minutes of the meeting of March 18th are approved. Mr. Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Even so, the council and the community do look forward to hearing from the mayor on Thursday, May 1st, about his proposed budget at the State of Metro address, which is an adjourned council meeting open to the public at the downtown library this year. So please do mark your calendars for that as well. We look forward to hearing from the mayor then. All right, we're rolling right into the items on our agenda. Section E, appointees and nominees. This portion of the agenda shares all persons that were scheduled to appear before the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee this evening. Re-referrals back to committee will be by rule as part of the council's two-meeting process for all elections and confirmations. No votes will be taken by the body in this section of the agenda other than for deferrals. Chair Prep T, committee report, please, sir. First, for any withdrawals and or deferrals.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The nomination of Roger Lajan Jr. was withdrawn, as well as the reappointment of Reverend Ron Parham was voted for a one-meeting deferral, 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, so for the Procurement Standards Board, Mr. Roger Ligon Jr. Is withdrawn. And then, I apologize, Mr. Ron Parham for the Work Release Board, and that is a one-meeting deferral for that. Okay. Mr. Arby, do we need a motion for that deferral? I think we typically do that. Would you make a motion for that deferral, please, sir?
So moved.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor of the one-meeting deferral for the interview of the Mr. Ron Parham for the reappointment to the Work Release Board, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, that is deferred till next time. All right, next, Chair Prep T, a brief summary report with just the name of the board and commission or committee and the persons who were interviewed today and will be referred back to your committee for confirmation consideration on April 15th, please, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. For the Emergency Communications District E911 Board appointment of Brian Pettis, as well as the Fire and Building Code Appeals Board appointment of Amy Harden, voted 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting, respectively. And with that, do I need to move approval?
You don't.
No?
It's
Okay,
it is referred by rule. Okay, next we move into confirmation, section F. Chair Prep T, you're recognized again for your committee report on appointees that are in the second step of your committee's two-meeting process, and then consolidated motion, sir, if you see fit. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. For the Civil Service Commission reappointment of Jason Evans, the Planning Commission reappointment of Edward Hinley, the Sexually Oriented Business Licensing Board appointment of Mesut Keklik, the Sexually Oriented Business Licensing Board reappointment of Amna Osman, the Solid Waste Region Board appointment of Frederick Cawthon, the Traffic and Parking Commission appointment of Lisa Haler, as well as the Traffic and Parking Commission appointment of Dr. Lin Meng. All received a vote of 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting, and with that, I move approval.
Okay, there is a motion to approve these 7 appointees. It's properly seconded. Anyone seeking to be recognized? I don't see so. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. So I'm going to read back in order the folks that council has confirmed so that we can wish them our congratulations. If you do have to be or happen to be present this evening, folks in the second step of this process are not required to come back to council, but they are, of course, very welcome. So if you are here when I call your name, please do stand and we'll have collective applause at the end. And if you are watching from home, we appreciate you as well. But you don't have to stand in your living room when we call your name. So Okay, to the Civil Service Commission, council has reappointed Mr. Jason Evans. To the Planning Commission, council has reappointed or confirmed the reappointment of Edward Henley. Council has confirmed the appointment of Mesut Keklik to the Sexually Oriented Business Licensing Board. And council has confirmed the reappointment of Amna Osman to the Sexually Oriented Licensing Board. To the Solid Waste Region Board, council has confirmed the appointment of Frederick Cawthon. And to Traffic and Parking Commission, council has, I see you, Ms. Haller, has confirmed the appointment of Lisa Haller. And then lastly, to the Traffic and Parking Commission, council has confirmed the appointment of Len Mang. Okay, we thank all of them and Ms. Haller, who is with us. Thank you for your willingness to serve. All right. Now we are moving into section G of our agenda. This is our public comment period. Members of the public who are Tennessee residents wishing to speak at a council meeting may sign up at a table outside on our mezzanine from 5 to 6 p.m. on the day of the council meeting. Public comment is limited to 20 minutes total at council meetings, and each speaker is allowed up to 2 minutes to speak. Persons speaking on agenda items must be prioritized to comply with state law, but folks are welcome to speak on any matter of interest to the council. Okay, so I will call you by name if you will please come forward. I am going to try to do my best to also call the subsequent person, so be listening for that name and go ahead and please come forward to the kind of area near the door behind the podium. First for public comment will be Steve Ryder. He is speaking on agenda item 38. This is RS 2025-110 in opposition. Go ahead, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the council. Good to see everybody. I'm a strong supporter of Nashville General Hospital. I'm glad we have a safety net hospital here. The people that are involved with this, I do know. I think I have cordial relations with all of them, so I'm not motivated by any sort of personal animosity. Yesterday at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, the legal director, Wally Dietz, rendered a legal opinion and said essentially the Hospital Authority Board in 2020 had the authority to retroactively grant deferred compensation to an employee that they have. In other words, this person, their date of hire was in 2015. They were hired under a contract then. And I object to that. To me, the person who was hired, that contract that they had in 2015, that was binding. You cannot have a subsequent board with different members go out there and bind a previous board additional compensation. The total compensation is increasing with deferred compensation. And that's wrong. I'm sorry. I disagree vehemently with that. You just don't do that. This really sets a bad precedent. It almost sounds like backdating to me. We don't backdate documents in my world. We just don't do that. We have some unintended consequences with this too. Because now any sort of employee says, well, I've been working here 5 years and I would like to enhance my total compensation. So could you go back and retroactively go give me some deferred compensation? I can't get a bonus. But why don't you go out and give me deferred compensation? You have the authority to do that because Metro Legal in 2025 said you can do that. And I'm saying that's wrong. We just don't do that. That's not how business is conducted.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder. I failed to do what I said I was going to do and invite Ms. Kristen Andrews forward. So go ahead and come forward, please, Kristen. After Kristen will be Manon Hall. So Manon, if you would go ahead and come forward. Kristen Andrews is speaking about the Peeler Park pedestrian bridge, speaking in support. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I'm part of the Neely's Bend community, and I walk in Peeler Park. And my daughter goes to a daycare that's in Donaldson, just on the other side of the river. And they're looking down on this spot where there might someday be a bridge between the two parks. And I just heard about that idea and thought it sounded really cool. So I'm here, I walk in the park. And I know also that to drive between these two communities is no small thing. You have to go, all the way out Neely's Bend Road and then all the way down Crowded Gallatin and all the way over Briley Parkway into Donaldson. It's like a solid 40-minute drive. I know, probably not everybody here we're not all familiar with each other's parts of town, but that's a great big drive. So if there was actually a pedestrian bridge between the two places, I just think I could bike over there. And I know that by the time anything like this got built, my daughter would definitely not still be in daycare. That's not what I'm picturing. I just heard about the idea and thought it sounded amazing to connect these two really big parks. Peeler Park is huge, and the park on the other side is also huge and, well used. But I just genuinely think it would improve the experience for like everybody in Nashville to be able to connect those two big green spaces that, especially Peeler Park, is kind of inaccessible in a way. You have to drive sort of all the way to the end of Neely's Bend to get there. I just think it would open up a lot of doors. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next is Manon Hall. After Mr. Hall will be Simone Boyd. Ms. Boyd, if you are here, if you would please go ahead and come forward as well. Okay, go ahead, sir. You're recognized.
Hi, Vice Mayor and Council members. Happy Transit Month. My name is Manon. I live at 1629 Good Day Court in Nashville, Tennessee. In light of Transit Month, if there's anybody here, of a council member or in the audience that hasn't ridden the bus before, I would love to ride it with you, taking on your first ride. I'm here tonight, however, to address the urgent crisis of housing affordability and equity in our city. Last week, I watched a joint committee meeting here in these chambers where the planning department presented the housing and infrastructure study. An insane statistic was put on the board in the PowerPoint, and I can't stop thinking about it. It said the median Black and Hispanic family can only afford to live in less than 1%, can only afford to purchase a home in less than 1% of Nashville neighborhoods. I'm just gonna keep reading that a couple times because it's insane. The average, the median Black and Hispanic family can afford to purchase a house in less than 1% of Nashville's neighborhoods. That's not just numbers on a page. It's about our neighbors, our friends, our family members being excluded from the opportunity to build wealth, security, and a future in the city they call home. It's about the deep-seated inequities that persist and are actively shaping the landscape of our community, creating a Nashville that is increasingly divided and unequal. This study is a welcome step, but we cannot be afforded to be timid in our response with the infrastructure study or applying its findings. We need inclusionary zoning. We need to invest in significant and sustained community land trusts and social housing models that provide permanently affordable options and prioritize those who are marginalized. Furthermore, we must explore and implement strong tenant protections and consider responsible rent stabilization. Thank you.
Thank you. Simone Boyd, go ahead, come forward, speaking on agenda item 38, resolution 2025-1110 in opposition. Following Ms. Boyd will be Dave Pomeroy. If Dave Pomeroy would go ahead and come forward. Ms. Boyd, you're recognized. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm here today to speak in opposition to the settlement for Dr. Webb. I'm very emotional about this because of the last gentleman who spoke about the 1% who can only afford housing. And I think this issue of our general hospital and public hospital is deeply tied to that. When my brother had a mental health crisis a few years ago, he was at Nashville General Hospital, and I felt powerless there because the hospital was dirty, the floors were dirty, there were fingernails everywhere, and I could just sit tight. I couldn't do anything. And when my neighbor had an emergency surgery a year and a half ago, she was also at General Hospital and there was no heat in her room. And I also felt powerless. But I'm not powerless to tell y'all about these lived experiences and what the people who are poor and working class are facing in this city. Y'all are getting ready to vote on an almost $1 million settlement for Dr. Webb, taking into account the results of the audit, taking into account the millions of dollars of unapproved contracts, taking into account when 2 years ago the board told him no more unapproved contract over $50,000, and you can verify this because my memory is a little bit fuzzy, but no more unapproved contracts over $50,000 for delegated authority. That's what the board voted on 2 years ago. There have been millions of dollars in unapproved contracts. Taking that into account, the conditions that poor and working class people face at this hospital, it is outrageous and utterly immoral that you would grant a golden parachute to Dr. Webb under these conditions. And I'm asking you to vote no, or at the very least, defer and visit the hospital before you give him $1 million. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boyd. Next is Dave Pomeroy. After Dave Pomeroy will be Vanda Hansard. Dave Pomeroy, are you present? Dave Pomeroy, to speak on agenda item 92. Okay, we're going to skip over that. We can come back to Mr. Pomeroy at the end if he has happened to step out. Vanda Hansard, is Vanda Hansard present? I see somebody raising your hand. Do you not wish to speak? Okay. Next is William Hansard. Mr. Hansard, you do not wish to speak either. Okay. Lutz Guevara. Lutz, are you here to speak during public comment? Nope. Okay. All right. Last call for Mr. Dave Pomeroy. Okay. All right. That will conclude public comment. All right. So next we are moving into section H of our agenda, public hearings. We have a resolution on public hearing. In section I, we have bills and ordinances on public hearing. Spanish interpretation services are provided for all Metro Council public hearings. Council Office Team Member Karina Valdez is here as the interpreter. Ms. Valdez, will you please share how you can help?
Los servicios de interpretación en español estarán disponibles en la audiencia pública. Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias. We appreciate you. Okay. For those wishing to speak this evening as part of our public hearings, please do state your name, but it is not required for you to provide your address if you do not wish to do so. You may want to tell us in what neighborhood or area you live, what your connection to an agenda item or project is, or who your council member is. Okay? All right. So first, again, in section H is a resolution on public hearing. This is agenda item 1, RS 2025-1104, sponsor GAD. This is a resolution exempting supernormal located at 105 45th Avenue North from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Ms. GAD, you are recognized first for your committee report, please, ma'am.
Yes, I would love to have my committee report.
Chair Hill for the report of government operations, please.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. We heard in RS 2025-1104, 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for approval.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And it's back to you, Ms. Gadd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to move the bill for a public hearing, open the public hearing.
Okay, I will declare the public hearing open for this resolution regarding the beer permit for supernormal. Would all members of the public here in support of this resolution please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this resolution please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, do those persons here in support wish to speak? Okay, They are saying or nodding or signaling no. So with that, Ms. Gadd, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I'd like to say just a brief word before we consider this resolution for a vote. Supernormal will actually open later this month. So constituents that live in District 24, but everyone around is welcome to hopefully join us in the Sylvan Park community. We're so excited that we have the owners who've returned to Nashville because they love and they've chosen to reopen some well-loved spaces in Sylvan Park. Supernormal is a family-friendly, pet-friendly community, supportive, fast casual concept. It will serve burgers, hot dogs, and soft serve ice cream. And of course, now with hopefully this beer variance, we'll also have some adult beverages available. With that, I'd like to move the resolution.
Okay, Ms. Gadd has moved approval with an explanation there. Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this resolution? And ITS, if you would please come help me with my tablet. Thank you. Seeing no one seeking discussion, which I actually can't see on the board, so is anyone seeking discussion on this? If you would raise your hand, if you are. Okay. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. So council has passed this resolution. Yeah. Okay, we were going to just keep rolling on here. Next is ordinances, bills on public hearing. Agenda item 2, ordinance BL 2024-623, sponsor Ewing and Hill. Thank you, sir. Is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from R40 to RS20 zoning for property located at 2221 Old Hickory Boulevard, approximately 396 feet east of Middleton Park Lane. This is 7.93 acres. All right, and so Ms. Ewing, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to withdraw this bill, please.
Okay, that bill is withdrawn.
Thank you.
Okay. Just a reminder to all my folks who are following the state legislature understandably very closely, I am not the speaker of this body. You can call me Madam President, or you can call me Vice Mayor, either way.
Pardon me.
Yes. Okay. No worries. And next is agenda item 3, ordinance BL 2025-705, sponsor Kimbrough. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro Government by changing from RS10 to R10 zoning for property located at 1709 River Drive, approximately 12 feet north of River Court. This is 0.49 acres. Councilmember Kimbrough, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill, please raise your hand? Okay, would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand? All right, Ms. Kimbrough, seeing no one here on either side, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion on your bill.
I'd like to move for approval.
Is there a second? Okay, it's properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Next is agenda item 4 and its companion agenda item 5. These are ordinances BL 2025-720 and 721. Sponsor Benedict. 720 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro Government, by changing from RS 7.5 to SP zoning for property located at 1265 McGavick Pike, at the northwest corner of McGavick Pike and Oxford Street. This is 0.45 acres to permit 6 multifamily residential units. And 721 is regarding proposed materials to be restricted at that same address. These can be taken together. Ms. Benedict, for purposes of public hearing, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open for ordinance 720 and its companion bill 721. Would all members of the public here in support of these bills, please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand? Okay. I am seeing folks on both sides. And so with that, if persons who are wishing to speak in support would please come forward to the podium. Persons in opposition wishing to speak will speak first, okay? After which folks speaking in opposition will be recognized. Go ahead, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Henderson, members of the council. My name is Michael Garrigan. I'm a civil engineer with Dale & Associates, 516 Heather Place. When we started this project, we really had one thing in mind, and that's attainable housing. Nashville has, the urban core has a plethora of 3-story, 3,000 square foot, million-plus homes. It is hard for a family to find a house under $800,000 in this city. The Barnes Fund does a fantastic job with the affordable housing. There's more and more units coming online every day. Then you've got the middle. It's called the missing middle, the middle class. They're constantly having to move out of Davidson County to Sumner, to Wilson, yet they still commute back on our interstates and our thoroughfares every day to get to work. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to take a lot, not a lot in the middle of a subdivision, a lot that's on a corner at the very edge of a subdivision. Directly across the street is MUL zoning. It's a restaurant. Right next door to that is retail. So it's a transitional lot. Right across the street is 20 units an acre zoning. Right next to it is RS 7.5, which is plus or minus 5 units per acre. So right there in the middle of that, 12 to 13 units is the density we're looking at. Because to get that housing price down, we have to have incremental density. We have to, where a lot makes sense, instead of putting up 2 5,000 square foot houses and letting some investor from California Airbnb them, we take that square footage, that 10,000 square foot from those 2 homes, and we spread it to 6 homes. This development has a maximum height of 2 stories. This development has maximum square footage of 1,800 square feet so that it is attainable as workforce housing. The architectural renderings that are part of this SP are absolutely beautiful. They're craftsman homes facing the street, parking behind. It blends very well with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, you're recognized. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. My name is DJ Sullivan, live in District 7, Emily Benedict's district. Good to see everybody here today. I live about half mile from this property. I bought my house 8 years ago. And in this general area, this is the 3rd attempt to build housing since I've lived here. The previous 2 attempts were blocked by neighbors in 2018 and 2022. So the first attempt would have been 33 small units on 1.5 acres, would have been great for artists, seniors, young singles and couples. The second attempt was 16 townhomes, and on that same lot, since those were both killed, we are ending up with 4 or 5 giant homes, 4,000 square feet, $1 to $2 million each. And that's what you get when you let neighbors block housing. Today, we're talking about 6 homes on half an acre on a different lot in the same area. This is a very, very desirable area to live. Restaurants, pharmacy, coffee shop, village pub, which some of you might have heard of or been there. As a result of the housing shortage in general, people are being displaced further and further out. East Nashville is becoming wealthier and losing its artists to Madison, other counties, and other cities. I understand it's unpopular to support new housing. Sometimes people don't want things to change. Advocating for housing can even get you screamed at a public meeting. but it's the right thing to do. Because what we don't see are the people who get displaced. They're invisible to us. We don't see the people who didn't get to buy a house. I'm here speaking for those people, so let's make some room for them, build some more housing. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, you're recognized, sir. Go ahead.
Hi there, Andy Wildman, District 7. Also, I live on Greenfield Avenue, half a mile away from the lot in question. I'm here to advocate for more homes, for more neighbors, more patrons for local businesses, especially in a place that makes sense. We're talking about a collector road that sees 4,000 cars a day and is on a bus route. There's literally a bus stop in front of this property. And you're about to see my neighbors advocate against making room for more housing. They might say things like, oh, this is a neighborhood maintenance spot, zone, district, whatever. Guys, neighborhood maintenance has gotten us $2 million homes. It has priced out artists. It has priced out the working class. It has not maintained my neighborhood. It has transformed my neighborhood and pushed the people that made my neighborhood what it was out to other neighborhoods. I would like a few more affordable, attainable housing options in my neighborhood, in the places they make sense, where there is infrastructure for that housing, and this is exactly that. This is a no-brainer. Say yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, go ahead.
Hey, my name is Manon Hall. I live in District 3, so I'm not going to be in the area that all these people are about to come up in, but I would love to. I love this area of Nashville, and unfortunately, it's become unaffordable. I'm going to go back to the housing and infrastructure study because I think it provides a lot of details on why this kind of housing is important. As you know, homeownership increasingly out of reach for moderate income earners, and even renting has become a struggle for many, like myself. The current market, while seeing increased rental development, is still limited in providing the modestly scaled, moderately priced housing that our community needs in various parts of the county, like in this area. For too long, we've been defaulting to single-family homes on large lots. While they have their place, we're missing a crucial middle ground with this study and what we should be building, middle housing. For example, this 6 houses on a half-acre lot. This is a vital step to making Nashville a place for better neighborhoods and communities. It's not about changing our neighborhoods, but it's about revitalizing them. I'm really excited about this. I wish this was a better, had more units, but the people that live there are going to have incredible access to public transit, which continues to get better. The 4 bus there is going to become 24/7, which is going to be a great for all Nashvillians to be able to get through around Nashville much later and with better frequency. I just encourage you to pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else seeking to be recognized in support of Bill 720? Okay, seeing none. Anyone here who is in opposition that is seeking to speak, if you would please come forward, please. If we do have a line, I would ask you please not to block the doorway, and please only one person at the podium at a time. Okay, go ahead. You're recognized.
So my name is Rodney Jenkins. I'm the owner of 1261
Rodney, if you could step closer to the mic, please, sir.
My name is Rodney Jenkins. I'm the owner of 1261 McGavick Pike, directly beside the proposed SP rezone. I want to highlight a few concerns in my opinion regarding why this rezoning that would be detrimental to our neighborhood. Lack of community consideration. Our council has not prioritized the interests of our community. They have bypassed a few of the essential rules for holding meetings and properly reporting our concerns to the city. Misrepresentation of affordable housing. Labeling these homes as affordable is misleading. With prices at $350,000 and more, they are far beyond the reach of most individuals, including veterans and sick people and wheelchair handicapped people. Anyway, increased density and declining property values. I invested in this area for open space and livability. This proposal introduces excessive density, leading to more people, cars, and perhaps crime, all factors that will ultimately lower our property values. Fraudulent use of funds as a general contractor since 2003. I have always had to secure my own funding for projects. This developer, however, seeks city funds under the pretense of affordable housing, which I believe is deceptive. In the past, developers like myself have had to adhere to specific setbacks from the neighborhoods and rezoning requirements. But now, for some reason, this special request is being fast-tracked through the city without the proper neighborhood input, and it's just not right. Public transport and accessibility. If the goal is to encourage public transit use, it's unrealistic to expect that buyers of a $350,000 home will rely on buses. Most will own one or two cars, and they just won't use it. And let's see here. Sight lines. In the proposed plan, the sight lines are on the line. Cool. Thank you for your time.
You're next. Go ahead. You're recognized.
Hello, my name is May Moreno. I am a brown woman speaking on behalf of myself and my white partner, Patrick Sansone. We live down the street from 1265 McGavick. Contrary to what Emily Benedict led MPC to believe, the majority of our neighbors surrounding 1265 McGavick do not support 6 homes on 0.45 acres. We're not NIMBYs. We do support responsible development. This SP rezone and development is irresponsible. I read the housing study, and what stood out to me is the recommendation for dense development that scales with infrastructure. McGavick is a 2-lane road that does not support increased density, such as what is proposed for 1265 McGavick. Should there be an emergency evacuation, McGavick could not support the safe evacuation of increased development, such as what is being proposed. Affordable housing is a nebulous concept. What is affordable to lower-income families is not affordable nor desirable to a middle-income family. These 6 $400,000 to $500,000 homes will inevitably be flipped a year and a half from now for $700,000. And there is your affordable housing out the window. I left Austin for this very reason. Austin is comparable to Nashville in that the infrastructure did not and still does not support the type of dense development that was pushed through Austin. Housing and rents in Austin are just now going down. Why? Because there's a mass exodus, because the housing development came far too late. People cannot navigate that city. And now there are condos that no one wants to live in, and they're still not affordable. And the majority of people looking for homes there are from Silicon Valley that have millions of dollars, and they do not want the cheap condos that were quickly erected in that city. This is a totally irresponsible plan. Again, I am not a NIMBY. I want responsible development in my neighborhood. But 6 homes on 0.45 acres selling for $400,000 to $500,000 a piece that are going to be flipped for $700,000 a year and a half from now? Give me a break. That's not affordable.
Your time has expired. Go ahead. You're recognized.
Thank you, esteemed members of this panel. My name is Joseph Harris. My girlfriend and I are homeowners directly across the street from this proposed rezone. I urge you to vote no on this rezone. I listen to Morning Edition with my coffee every day, and I know the buzzwords, and I'm for density increases in areas where it fits. This is not one of them. This address is not encompassed in the Nashville Next initiative, if you look at the numeric on this address. In addition, it runs counter to the neighborhood maintenance that is currently in effect as we sit here right now, which calls for community buy-in. As noted, there's very little buy-in. And I would say a visual aid here for all you guys. 210 local signatures, 250 signatures in all, but 210 local, many of them are shown here, are in opposition to this. Oh, wait, there's more. There will also be a significant environmental impact to this. Numerous old growth trees will have to be cut down to make room for this, as well as a parking lot supplied for this parking lot residential, yeah, whatever. But a parking lot without any type of stormwater retention plan, which is seems a little suspect to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead. You're recognized.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tyler. I'm a civil engineering student at Vanderbilt, and I also volunteer at Be a Helping Hand, which is a local nonprofit for affordable housing development here in Nashville, actually based on Oxford Street. My concern with this, I'm a huge supporter of affordable housing, but I don't think that it's been clear whether this is true affordable housing. There doesn't appear to be a cap on the amount that the houses will be priced at, and it's unclear whether there are any AMI restrictions on this housing. There's also essentially being a zoning variance for what could be a market rate development, and if you give these zoning variances to market rate developments, it becomes more difficult for affordable housing developments to actually be built when they need zoning variances to be able to build in the core land of our cities. And what happens is if you can't build affordable housing in these areas, a lot of people are forced to be displaced. I've met many senior citizens and other people who have lived here for decades, and they've been forced to move out. And it also causes increases of traffic because people are coming in from afar. One of the people I met who had to become an Uber driver, she's almost 80 years old, and she has to drive an hour and a half in here because her rent went up. So basically, we need to confirm whether there are caps on that. Also, in terms of the stormwater, this is up at the top elevation of Oxford Street, and there's already a lot of water going down because as you go down the street, the elevation decreases. And so right now we have completely permeable big green area. And I know there's permeable pavement in here, but we need to look at if there could be additional retention devices because that water is flooding people's homes already. We have additional urban heat island impacts, and we need to study the traffic as well because this is a big parking lot. And if we have transit-oriented development, I don't know if there should be that incentive to use cars. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, go ahead. You're recognized.
Good evening, council members. My name is John Marston, and I live at 1297 Maxey Lane in District 7 with my wife and our 3 small children. I want to honor, I think, a lot of the comments made about the housing affordability issues in Nashville. This resonates with me quite deeply, but I am here tonight to ask you to vote no on the rezoning request for this property, which sits directly across the street from my home. I am really concerned about how this proposal will impact our community, particularly in terms of the integrity of the neighborhood, environmental loss, and safety concerns. The Nashville Next plan, which took 3 years to develop with unprecedented community input, lays out a vision for responsible growth in our city. It emphasizes preserving neighborhoods, fostering strong communities, and protecting natural resources. This rezoning proposal is out of alignment with these principles. One of Nashville Next's core commitments is preserving our neighborhoods while building housing close to transit and jobs. And this lot is deep within an established residential area, not near a major transit corridor or job centers. Packing 6 multi-unit homes in a parking lot into a sub-half-acre single parcel contradicts the plan's focus on smart, sustainable growth. Another key commitment is championing the environment. This development would remove several large, mature trees, some of the last remaining in the parts of the neighborhood. Trees don't just provide shade, they improve air quality, reduce flooding, make our streets safer. The loss of these for a project that's out of the character with the community and not aligned with the Nashville Next encourages. And most urgently, safety. The intersection at McGavick and Maxey Lane, as has been communicated by some of my supporters, is already dangerous. Cars speed around this intersection's curve at 40 miles an hour, and there is no signage whatsoever for the management of traffic or increasingly pedestrian-focused development in this area. I walk these streets with my 3 children, ages 3, 5, and 8, every single day, and I worry about them. Adding more cars to this already hazardous area without addressing long-standing safety concerns is reckless. We should be fixing these dangers, not making them worse. I understand Nashville's growing, and I support smart, thoughtful development that aligns with the city's vision, but this does not meet that standard. I urgently ask you to reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir. Come forward. You're recognized.
Thank you. Hi, my name is James Haggerty. I live on Riverwood Drive, about a mile from the proposed development. I have been in my house for 20 years. I'm against it, obviously. And like everyone has said before me, it really comes down to, it's a flim-flam. It's a way to wrap buzzwords around a small parcel of land that can't sustain the proposed number of houses. And we're going to use words like affordability. And it's not true. The average salary, I just looked it up, for people in Nashville is $67,000. I don't make that. And it says in order to have affordable housing at that number, people should be paying $580 a month in rent. And that is never going to happen at these prices. And it's a lie. And it makes me angry because I'm all for that. And the existing zoning is fine. Let's stick with it. We all live in that neighborhood. We all pay our property taxes. We all want to live there. And I want everybody to have that opportunity. But this is a lie. And it just makes me angry. And also, at one point, the sign for the zoning hearing was on the wrong piece of property. And then this hearing was postponed. And a lot of people, and the communication to the neighborhood has been confusing and hard to follow. And a lot of people that would like to be here to speak like I'm speaking didn't even know. So at the very least, I would ask you to vote no. At best, I would ask you to vote no. At least, I would ask you to table this for another month and really let people know what's at stake here. And thirdly, once this goes, if it does go, it just opens up the neighborhood to becoming 12 South, and no one wants that. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, seeing no one else seeking to be recognized to speak in opposition, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Councilwoman Benedict. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
No committee reports at this juncture. That's on third.
Oh, thank you. You're right. So first, I'd like to thank everyone who came out tonight. Hearing from you is always important. And colleagues, we've received multiple communications about this specific plan, so I wanted to share some background information with you. This part of District 7 has the only commercial center other than Gallatin Pike. It's home to 11 local businesses, and this part of the district also includes the WeGo Route number 4 that runs directly in front of this parcel. Since I was elected in 2019, there's been 2 proposals to add housing in Riverside Village. One was for 18 townhomes that would have all been around 1,200 square feet. Instead, there is now one $1.8 million home there and 2 others under construction. Also within walking distance of Riverside Village is a $3.7 million home that was just sold. This is a desirable area to be, but with these single-family homes, it isn't accessible to the average Nashvilleian. What the owner of 1265 McGavick when they decided to pursue a rezoning, they brought a proposal for 7 homes, which was presented to the community in a community meeting. The following changes were requested. Reduce the number of homes. The developer is now proposing 6 homes instead of 7. Change the layout and location of the parking. The developer moved the parking so it will be hidden behind the homes rather than clustered at the back of the parcel. Increase the buffer. The buffer was increased to an additional 5 feet around the entire parcel and more so for the homes facing McGavick Pike, thereby aligning more with the properties on this street. Screen the property more. The plan now includes an opaque fence and more trees and shrubbery. Sidewalks. New sidewalks with curbs will be built all around the property. Intersection improvements and safety. The neighborhood is already working to implement a tactical urbanism project to improve safety at this intersection. Stormwater. The plan requires a grading permit and will move stormwater to our drains, not to other properties. The community, as we've just heard, would still like to see fewer homes on this parcel. I understand their concerns and have worked to address them. If the number of homes is reduced, then the square footage of those homes will be increased. Too many people are trying to enter the housing market, but with the average home value increasing by 53% in this area of the city in the past 5 years, it's out of reach for them. This is also transit-oriented development. It's on the WeGo Route number 4, which will be 24 hours a day due to the passage of Choose How You Move. The neighborhood supported that initiative. This plan will bring more ridership on a route that is a 3-minute ride on the number 4 to the second highest WeGo route in the city, number 56. On your desk are 2 maps, first showing the proposed rezoning with highlights of recent home sales, as well as the list of local businesses that could benefit from more people in the area. The second shows the proximity to Gallatin Pike and a map of the current transit lines. The Planning Commission approved of the plan unanimously, and I ask for your support.
Ms. Benedict, I do need a motion, I believe.
Oh, I move to approve. Thank
Okay.
you.
Is there a second for that motion? Okay. So again.
Do I start over?
No, ma'am. With a very long explanation to go with the motion, understandably, given the hearing, appreciate the remarks. And so there's a motion, it is properly seconded, and now we are on to discussion. And first in the queue is Councilman Parker. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I've heard quite a bit about this one since it was first proposed. This is obviously not in District 5, but I do hang out in this general area from time to time. There's a lot of great businesses there that we like to visit. And, you know, I heard a lot of concerns about affordability, and this isn't true affordable housing. You know, we can't really use zoning to force folks to build housing to a certain price point. I mean, if we could, I think a lot of us in this room would be attempting to do so. But the city's affordable housing efforts, I think they're critically important. But when we're looking at the market rate housing, I mean, there's a corner lot here in a very desirable area. Is it a better outcome for a massive 4,000 square foot mansion to go up there for $2.2 million? Or is it a better outcome for 6 homes that are attainable to people who have, you know, fairly well-paying jobs in the city? I think it's better the latter. When I look at this plan, I see a lot of the things that I look for in development proposals, which is prohibition of short-term rental. The aesthetics of the renderings are very good. Like, these look like well-designed, engineered houses that will fit into that neighborhood nicely. The square footage, I mean, you're not, you know, I review the building permits pulled for District 5 every month, and when I look at the square footages, I'm seeing 3,200 square feet, these very, very large homes. You know, this plan, the units are constrained to 1,600 and 1,800 square feet. They have, you know, pitched roofs that don't perch your new neighbors up on these rooftop decks where you feel like they're looking down at you like an ant colony. There's just a lot to like here, and so I think I'm going to be supportive of it here on second reading. And I appreciate everybody for coming out. And it's clear that Councilmember Benedict has worked really hard on this proposal. It's clear that the applicants have worked really hard on this proposal. So I'll be voting in favor of it today. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Parker. Next is Councilman Horton.
Thank you,
You're
Vice
recognized,
Mayor.
sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I rise in support of this as well, and I'm very grateful for Councilmember Benedict's leadership both in her district and in the entire city. And I think it's important to note that housing that's built in one part of the city affects the rest of the city as well by helping relieve the housing crisis that some of the public comments mentioned. And I think some of the comments that mentioned like the cost of this new housing, I was reminded of a key finding of the study that was just released by our own planning department this past week, where it said equally needed as affordable housing are homes in higher cost neighborhoods to help relieve the pressure from those high income neighborhoods on other parts of the county. And so very grateful for Councilmember Benedict bringing this in very strongly in support.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. Okay, seeing no other members seeking to be recognized, and Ms. Benedict, I'm just going to restate your motion because we had talked about, for purposes of public hearing, that we can take both 720 and its companion 721 materials bills together. So it is a motion to approve on second for both those bills. Is that correct? Okay. All righty. Seeing no one else seeking discussion, all in favor of approval of these two bills on their second of 3 readings, please say aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay. That is quite a few abstentions. What do we want to do about that? Do we want to just note them? Mr. Clerk, so folks abstaining, if you would please hold your hands up just for a little bit longer, please, so that Mr. Clerk has time. If everybody else will just sort of remain still so that he can note those. Again, this is the second of 3 readings. That's why we do not need to go on the board here, okay? All right, so this has passed its second of 3 readings. All right, so now we are moving on to agenda item 6. This is ordinance BL 2025-727, sponsor Benedict again. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 in the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by changing from RS 7.5 to R8A zoning for property located at 800 Gwynn Drive. at the southeast corner of Patapsco Street and Gwen Drive. This is 0.32 acres. Ms. Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for a one-meeting deferral.
Okay. Is there a second for that motion? Okay. This is a public hearing, however, so let's move it to a date certain or 2 meetings.
Perfect. Date certain, the first meeting in May.
Okay. Is there a second for that motion? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, the public hearing for this ordinance will be at the first meeting in May. All right, next is agenda item 7, ordinance BL 2025-728, sponsor Hancock. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by changing from RS 7.5 to R8 zoning for properties located at 354, 358, 362, and 366 Rio Vista Drive, approximately 400 feet southeast of Anderson Lane. This is 0.73 acres. Counselor Hancock, you are recognized.
Thank you. Can we open the public hearing, please?
Yes, ma'am, we can. I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill, this is ordinance 728, please raise your hand. Thank you, sir. Would all persons here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman here in support seek to be recognized? He is shaking his head no. And so with that, Ms. Hancock, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion on your bill.
I'd like to move for approval, please.
Okay, is there a second? Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Next is agenda item 8, ordinance BL 2025-730, sponsor Kimbrough. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by changing from RS10 to R10 zoning for property located at 1809 County Hospital Road, approximately 254 feet east of Manchester Avenue. This is 0.5 acres. Councilwoman Kimbrough, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? All right, seeing no one here raising their hands on either side, I will declare the public hearing closed. It's back to you, Ms. Kimbrough, for a motion on your bill.
I'd like to move for approval.
Okay, is there a second? Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Next are agenda items 9 and 10. They are companions to each other. Ordinance BL 2025-739 and ordinance BL 2025-740, sponsor Hancock. 739 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government of Davidson County, by applying a neighborhood conservation zoning overlay district to various properties located west of Neely's Bend Road and north of Longfellow Drive, zoned RS20 and R20. This is 211 acres, 0.13 acres. And then ordinance 740, again, the companion bill at the same address requires certain materials to be restricted. Ms. Hancock, these can be taken together for purposes of public hearing, should you wish. You're recognized.
I would love to open the public hearing for both together.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open for ordinances 739 and 740, sponsor Hancock. Would all members here of the public here in support of these bills please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to these bills please raise your hand? Okay, I am seeing folks here in opposition, and so given that, do those here some among you in support seek to be recognized to speak? Okay, so those folks who are here in support will speak first. Should you wish to speak, not everyone here in support has to speak. If you would line up first and go ahead and come forward, please. Go ahead, you're recognized. Oh, pardon me, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Vice Mayor. Good evening, Minnie Bell, and I'm a property owner in the Marlin Meadows overlay. A big appreciation to Councilmember Hancock and the neighbors who have committed efforts for this overlay, and kudos to Robbie Jones and Miss Sasha. Even though my primary residence is no longer in this area, however, I am glad to continue to offer affordable housing to working citizens. I've read the Marlin Meadows design guidelines, and it meets the requirements of the Secretary of the Interior standards for the mid-century period of architecture and design. There is ample opportunity for owners to develop their properties as well as preserve its notable architectural history. Please approve this overlay for historic preservation. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir. You are recognized.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm Robbie Jones. I'm a professional preservationist here in Nashville the last 30 years. I'm here to speak because I live in Marlin Meadows. I live at 804 Canton Pass. Purchased my home there 10 years ago. I restored it. It's a 1954 ranch home. The restoration received a preservation award in 2018 from the Metro Historical Commission, which was the first in Nashville. As part of my work in the restoration, I completed a history of the neighborhood. I've shared that with all of you, I think, via email, which was published on my website. This led to conversations in the neighborhood with the neighbors in Neely Bend about what options we might have to preserve our neighborhood and to prevent tear downs and redevelopment with tall skinnies, McMansions and such, which we've all been here talking about tonight, into Neely's Bend. That led to us talking with Sasha Lassiter and our new council member, Tanya Hancock, because we actually started this conversation 6 years ago. We met with Robin Ziegler with Metro Historic, Brett Weathers with planning, and looked over all of our options. We decided that the conservation overlay was our best option and began the process where we are today. I wanted to note that the staff at Historic Zoning surveyed the neighborhood and determined 90% of the 300 plus homes would contribute to the overlay. They have integrity. In February, I requested a determination of eligibility from the Tennessee Historical Commission about whether the neighborhood might be eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. Today, they issued a determination, said yes, it is for architectural significance. I'll share that with everyone separately. And finally, I wanted to say I spoke with my neighbors along in my area of the neighborhood, and the vast majority support the overlay. Some of them are very reserved and don't want to speak in public, but they've signed petitions, and I've got a list running with over a dozen people so far, and we're going to continue to collect those. Most of the concerns were about the design review guidelines, which we discussed separately. I want to close with Metro agrees that Marlin Meadows is historic. The state agrees. The vast majority of the neighborhood agrees. And I hope that with this overlay that you guys will help us preserve it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Go ahead and come forward. You're recognized.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sasha Lassiter. I live at 1100 Berwick Trail in beautiful Marlin Meadows. I've been there 18 years. The Madison Marlin Meadows neighborhood is precious and rich with history. The diligent work to support our conservation overlay designation has been underway for quite some time. Discussions began when Bill Pridemore was councilman. Discussions accelerated within the community during the last few years into all the necessary actionable steps to ultimately achieve this goal today. Thank you to Councilwoman Tanya Hancock. The history of Nashville is disappearing, yet here in this incredible Madison Riverside community is historical Marlin Meadows, a hidden jewel, a step back in time, giving a sense of place and storied history. The conservation overlay will not only protect the integrity of our historical Marlin Meadows neighborhood, it'll also help to protect the sensitive ecosystem and wildlife along the river. The majority of neighbors in our area want to maintain and protect history and the environment. The spirit of these historical homes have so many stories to tell. Living on the river, too, it's necessary to preserve the ground infrastructure and maintain open land to absorb excessive rainfall and prevent erosion. Our river neighborhood has stormwater channels running through that carry heavy volumes of water from the surrounding denser neighborhoods into the river. Our neighborhood is a gateway into Neely's Bend farmlands. There's wildlife in abundance living in Marlin Meadows, having been pushed to the edge of the river to nest and live due to excessive building going on around us. And as a result, we're the caregivers of this wonderful wildlife, and it makes Marlin Meadows a sanctuary. I have served as a Madison Community Representative for Nashville Next and an administrator of our own Madison Community Plan. It's a 3-volume plan. And I ask that at all of these meetings, everyone is always saying, let's protect the history. Let's keep Marlin Meadows protected and safe. So please, please, let's preserve Marlin Meadows, the last shreds of sense of place in Madison, Nashville history, and respect the ecological fragility of Neely's Bend. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Go ahead and come forward. You're recognized.
All right, hi, everybody. I'm just a resident in the Marlin Meadows neighborhood. My fiance and I owned 2 houses, one on Berwick Trail, one on Peeler Trail, and I support this overlay. Thank you.
Thank you. With those folks seeking to be recognized to speak in opposition, please come forward. Go ahead. You're recognized.
Thank you. Greetings. My name is Brad Brown, and I'm an owner-occupant within Marlin Meadows. I'm in opposition for a bunch of reasons, but we'll narrow it to 3. The first one is if you drive the neighborhood, a large portion of the buildings that are there now, the primary, the only thing that's historic or original is the brick of the building. The roof, the gables, they're now vinyl. Vinyl wasn't a part of the 50s, so that would be non-conforming. Also, the premise is to prevent demolition and building tall skinnies. The one problem with that is that that's already covered by the zoning code. So that if an applicant would want to do that, they would have to come in front of this body, in front of planning, some other people, to get those permits. So it's already protected. So we get the same thing without giving up the materials, right? And lastly, if you look at any government building, they're built with metal roofs. As part of the design guidelines, metal roofs are forbidden. And that kind of prevents us from having the safety of a metal roof would provide. We're having more and more storms. They're crazy. There's hail. It's crazy. So if we prevent us from having the ability to do those metal roofs, we're subjecting future residents to having problems. Yeah, so I hope you agree and just vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else seeking to be recognized in opposition? Seeing no one, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Ms. Hancock. You can, if you so choose, again, make a consolidated motion for these companion bills. Go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to move to approve both of these bills together with a brief comment. Maybe not incredibly brief, but a little brief.
Okay, that's fine. Properly moved and seconded. Go ahead, ma'am.
So I want to thank first Monet, Robbie, Sasha, Jeff, and Brad for all coming up and speaking at the podium. I know it's not always easy speaking in the mic, and really appreciate you taking the time to come out and do that. Some things I wanted to clear up is when we've been going through this process for the last 6 years, there's been a number of things that we were considering. Rezoning was not something that was really on the table, although we did discuss it because all the lots are different sizes, so that didn't really work. We discussed historic overlays and conservation overlays, and it became very apparent through conversations with the majority of the constituents that a historic overlay was going to be too heavy of a lift, and as Brad gave an example, not quite fit in this particular neighborhood. So we landed on conservation overlay. And a conservation overlay would not prevent the vinyl on the sides of the homes or the metal roofs. The conservation overlay is going to review new construction, like when you're adding additions to the house, they don't mind your roof, your color, your front doors, your windows. Those are not in the conservation overlay. It also will do a review when we're doing demolition. And So just wanted to clear that up a little bit. But something else I wanted to talk about, one of the really remarkable things about this neighborhood, very similar and kind of following in the footsteps of Haynes Heights neighborhood and their mid-century overlay, is that this is a super diverse neighborhood. This is not a historically Black neighborhood as Haynes Heights is, but out of the 1,079 people that live in this neighborhood, 245 are two or more races, 245 are white alone, 259 are African American, 137 are Asian alone, 190 are another race altogether. We have 220 people that are of the Hispanic or Latino ethnicity. We're a very diverse neighborhood. There are 444 males and 635 females in this neighborhood. There are 233 under 18, 126 over 65, but 720 working class. The average household income of this neighborhood is $75,000, and if you haven't done the math, that's $25,000 per person of a working age. That's the average income in this neighborhood. The average value of the home is now up to $300,000, and it's hurting a lot of people, as I know people all across the county are having a hard time with paying their taxes sometimes. And one of the real strong reasons for this overlay, and I know behind the Haynes Heights overlay and a lot of the people that came and spoke out in favor of that, is the opportunity to try and keep a neighborhood kind of like it is. Not that things have to stay the same everywhere, but the fact that it is a historic neighborhood. It was just approved by the state of Tennessee, and it's a step back in time. We're going to try to protect this for these hard working class people. Thank you, and I hope you give me your approval.
Thank you, Ms. Hancock. So there is a motion to approve both 720 and its companion 721 on its second of three readings. That motion is properly seconded. Is there any further discussion on this motion to approve? Okay. Do we have sufficient quorum to make the vote? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, 720 and 721 have passed their second of three readings. All right, next is agenda item, whoop. Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. I turned back a page in the midst of that. I do apologize. So, Ms. Darby, what do we need to do there? Because when I stated that motion, obviously we know Ms. Hancock is speaking about 739 and 740. So I do apologize. I turned a page back and I had two similar companions. So what I spoke into the record was 720 and 721. Okay, Mr. Clerk. Yep. I'm just going to restate it. It was 739 and its companion 740. These are agenda items 9 and 10. They were moved in a consolidated motion, which is properly seconded and was just approved by the body by a voice vote. Okay, sorry for that confusion, y'all. Next is agenda item 11, ordinance BL 2025-741, sponsor Welsh. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government by changing from RS 7.5 to R6A zoning for property located at 412 McIver Street, approximately 270 feet east of Meade Avenue. This is 0.18 acres. Go ahead, Ms. Welsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This needs to be deferred for lack of notice.
Okay, so is there a motion to defer then?
Motion to defer.
Okay, to the meeting of May 6th. So you're going
Correct.
to defer the second reading to the meeting of May
Correct.
6th. Is it seconded? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this bill will have its second reading and public hearing on May 6th. Next are our agenda items 12 and 13. They are companions to each other. That's ordinance BL 2025-749 and 750, sponsor Parker. 749 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, as ordinance of the Metro government. with a specific plan and rezone from RS5 to SP on properties located at 905 and 907 West Eastland Avenue, 930 and 930C McFerrin Avenue, and 609, 611, 613, 615, 625, 627, 629, 631, 633, 635, 637, 639, 641, 643, and 645. So I probably should have just said this number through that number, but you never know. Richmond Bend, approximately 175 feet south of Seymour Avenue and located within the Greenwood Neighborhood Conservation Overlay District and the Detached Accessory Dwelling Unit DADU Overlay District Zoned SP and RS5. This is 2.79 acres to permit 2 additional multifamily residential units. And again, 750, which requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of the buildings at all those previous addresses, which I will spare you from restating. Okay, you are recognized, Mr. Parker.
Vice Mayor, I'm glad my committee doesn't have to read that caption.
That's right.
But I would like to move to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I will declare the public hearing open for 749 and its companion 750, sponsor Parker. Would all folks here in support of these bills, please raise your hand? Okay, would all folks here in opposition to these bills, please raise your hands? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, do those folks here in support seek to be recognized or speak? No, they are shaking their head no, Councilman Parker. So with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
Okay, is there a second? Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on these bills? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, 749 and 750 have passed their second of 3 readings. Next is Agenda Item 14, Ordinance BL 2025-751, sponsor Cupin. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by amending a specific plan located at 1324 2nd Avenue North at the southeast corner of 2nd Avenue North and Taylor Street, zoned SP. This is 4.82 acres to adjust permitted square footage and height. Mr. Cupin, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move to defer for a notice issue to the May public hearing.
Okay, so there is a motion to defer to the public hearing of May 6th, to defer the second reading. Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion to defer? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, Ordinance 751, sponsor Cupin, will have its public hearing on May 6th. Okay, next are Agenda Items 15 and 16. They are companions to each other. Ordinance BL 2025-752 and 753, sponsor Lee. This 752 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, changing from AR2A to SP zoning for properties located at 5788 Cane Ridge Road and Cane Ridge Road numbered approximately 285 feet southeast of Cane Ridge Road. This is 39.27 acres to permit 120 single-family lots. 753, that ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted at the address and same location in 752. Ms. Lee, Councilwoman, you are recognized.
Thank you. I will move to defer both of these to the next public meeting, which is May the 6th.
Okay, it's properly moved and seconded. All right, is there any discussion on that deferral of second reading for both these bills to the hearing on May 6th?
This was because lack of notice.
Okay, thank you for clarifying, Ms. Lee. Thank you. Anybody else seeking discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, 752 and 753 will be heard on second reading on May 6th. Next are Agenda Items 17 and 18. They are companions to each other. Ordinance BL 2025-754 and 755, sponsor Parker. Ordinance 754 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws of the zoning ordinance of the Metro government by changing from RS10 to SP zoning for properties located at 3304, 3306, 3308, and 3312 Walton Lane and Walton Lane unnumbered, approximately 278 feet west of Slate Drive. This is 3.11 acres to permit 78 family residential units. And then 755 is an ordinance that requires certain materials to be restricted at those same locations in 754. All right, Councilman Parker, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open for 754 and 755, sponsor Parker. Would all members of the public here in support of these bills please raise your hand? Thank you. Would all members of the public here in opposition to these bills please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, do those folks in support seek to be recognized or speak? Okay, she is shaking her head no. And so with that, Mr. Parker, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a consolidated motion.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval on items 17 and 18.
All right, is there a second? Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, 754 and 755 have passed their second of 3 readings. Okay, next is agenda item 19 and 20. They are companions to each other. Ordinance BL 2025-756 and 755, sponsor Coupon. 756 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by amending the River North Urban Design Overlay District for various properties located on Cowan Street, Waterside Drive, Oldham Street, North First Street, River North Boulevard, Spring Street, and Cowan Court. This is 165.21 acres to update urban design standards related to structured parking and building materials. Its companion 757 is an ordinance that requires certain materials to be restricted in those same locations as in 756. Okay, Mr. Coupon, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to open the public hearing on both bills.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open for Bills 756 and 757, sponsor Coupon. Would all members of the public here in support of these bills please raise your hand? Okay, would all members of the public here in opposition to these bills please raise your hand? Seeing no one here seeking to be recognized on either side, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Mr. Coupon, for a consolidated motion.
Thank you. I'd like to move approval.
Okay, Councilman Coupon has moved approval of 756 and 757 on second reading. Is there a second? Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, these have passed their second of 3 readings. Next are agenda items 21 and 22. They are companions to each other. First is ordinance BL 2025-758. And next is 759, sponsor Johnston. 758 and 759. 758 is an ordinance to amend Title 17, the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from R40 to SP zoning for properties located, not exactly sequentially, so I'm going to have to read them all. 5633, 5637, 5639, 5645, 5651, 5661, 5665, 5655 Valley View Road, approximately 960 feet south of Old Hickory Boulevard. This is 15 acres to permit 71 multifamily residential units. And again, it's companion 759. That ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted at all those same addresses that are a part of 758. Okay, Ms. Johnston, you are recognized.
Thank you. Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open for 758 and 759, sponsor Johnson. Would all members of the public here in support of these bills please raise your hand? Thank you, folks. Would all members of the public here in opposition to these bills please raise your hand? Okay. Seeing that there is someone here in opposition, do those folks here in support seek to be recognized and to speak? Okay. If so, please go ahead and come forward. Those folks in support will speak first, and the persons in opposition will speak second. Go ahead, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, members of the council. I'm Roy Dale at Dale & Associates. As you see, there are a number of people here to speak in support of this, but we don't want to burden the council with that. The council member has done a very good job on this proposal. There have been numerous community meetings. This started out as maybe one parcel, and you can see that all these neighbors got together. I think there's 8 neighbors that got together on this zone change request. This proposal maintains the character of Valley View Drive and provides opportunities for additional housing behind that. It's a very well thought out plan. A lot of work was done with Planning Commission and Planning Commission staff, and we thank them very much for their help. And as a result, I think you've got a plan that is going to be good for this community. So I want to thank the council member again as well. She's done a very good job, and we would hope the council would support her. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else seeking to be recognized in support? Seeing none, there was a gentleman who raised his hand in opposition. If you would come forward, please, sir, if you seek to speak. Go ahead, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor and council members. My name is George Campbell. I'm a member of the Valley View community there, one of 64 property owners that currently exit their residence and enter their residence onto Valley View. Unfortunately, that's not all that goes through Valley View because it's a cut through between Old Hickory and over to Cloverland. We are certainly understand the development of that area. The older homes with the big lots, anywhere from 1 to 4 acres, are prime for development for more density. But we'd like to limit it as much as possible so that it's fair for the developers and fair for the current residents also. There have been 5 other lots adjacent to this particular group of lots on the same side of the street that are in the process of being developed right now. Approximately 5 acres there, 4.5 to 5, and they have 17 units that are being built now and have been approved on that property. That's approximately 3.4 per acre. We're looking at 71 here on 14, 15 acres, which is quite a bit larger density, 5 per acre. If we could stay in line with what's already been approved on that street, the street looks the same, gives it the same feel of a neighborhood, and minimizes the increase in density. So there are 31 of us that have been in agreement on this, of the 64, that development's A-OK. And Courtney and Mr. Dale have done a good job on preparing this and having the meetings and that sort of thing. We just like to minimize the density if we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone else seeking to be recognized in opposition? Seeing none, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion, potentially consolidated if you so choose.
I will consolidate my motion to move to approve for both of these with a brief comment.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So I want to thank everyone that came out. Now you know, if you didn't know what we do, now you know what we do twice a month, and maybe that's why people don't run for this office. But we have had so many different conversations about this. In fact, before it was brought to me, the neighbors had gotten together 2 or 3 times, I believe. The way that it has been presented is it says 71 units as if it's one development, and it's not. So when you talk about minimizing the development, I want to make sure that people understand that each of these parcels is being rezoned. There's only one that's under contract right now to be developed. And so some of these parcels could never be redeveloped if the homeowner chooses not to sell. They could be developed differently. It could be, but that's the most that it could ever be. And so it looks a little bit deceiving as if 71 housing units are going to go up at the same time, and that's just not the case. But this has been very well thought out. I think the neighborhood, we had a really great meeting where we all understand that there is going to be growth in the area. And so if there's going to be growth, let's do it together and make sure that we're all in agreement to manage it properly. And I think this is in accordance with what's going on around the neighborhood. We've got much higher density in adjacent properties. But I feel like this has been a really good balance between managing the growth and not over densifying, if that's a word, maybe not, the area. But most of, as Mr. Dale said, when we started this, we had a few parcels and everybody on the eastern side of the street that had not already been rezoned actually asked to be part of this rezone. So with that, I move approval.
Okay, there is a motion to approve 758 and 759 on its second of 3 readings, and it was properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, 758 and 759 have passed second reading. Okay, next is agenda item 23, ordinance BL 2025-760, sponsor Parker. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by changing from RS10 to R10. Zoning for property located at 3101 Hillside Road, approximately 196 feet south of Broadmoor Drive. This is 0.2 acres. Councilman Parker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open on ordinance 760. Would all folks here in support of this ordinance or bill, please raise your hand? Thank you. Would all folks here in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand? Okay, seeing that there is someone here in opposition, do any of those folks here in support seek to be recognized and speak? Okay, all right. Seeing that no one wants to speak in support, next then we will move, and if you wish to be recognized to speak in opposition, you may come forward. Go ahead, you're recognized. Oh, I apologize. Go ahead.
Thank you. I hate public speaking, so just bear with me. My name's Tara. I'm a resident on Hillside. I've been in communication with Nancy Van Rees and Sean Parker when selected on my concerns of the changes to this area in the past 4 years. Hillside has a firehouse, various churches in walking distance, Hill's grocery store in walking distance, stores and restaurants off Dickerson, and Maplewood High School around the corner. Hillside is a street away from Dickerson, an overall lower income area, though that is quickly changing. My 80-year-old neighbor, Miss Linda, has lived on the street her entire life, and we talk often about how she no longer recognizes the neighborhood. That's because the Hillside area in the past 4 years has gone through transformational changes. I worry the changes in the area are not being considered holistically as their individual decisions are being made. Around the corner on Ben Allen, an old farm was turned into 240 apartments. On Hillside directly, 2 single-family properties were rezoned, I'm gonna breathe, for 50 to 60 homes, estimated at $500K each. On Broadmoor around the corner is Maple Grove, a 43 townhome property at $450 to $550K each. All of these changes have been made with zero consideration to traffic calming, considerations to traffic or safety considerations for sidewalks and resident walkability. Hillside is a single lane road, no stop signs, no traffic lights on the street or adjacent streets. There are no sidewalks. How do we expect hundreds of new vehicles going up and down the street to go? As a walker with my dog Frankie, I can tell you it's not going to be great. Myself and all the neighbors walk these streets daily. The developers do not, and I worry the neighbors' opinions have been consistently disregarded by those we have elected to consider our opinion, instead of prioritizing the asks of those developers with deep pockets. The Hillside neighborhood has done enough to contribute to additional housing. I urge you all to take serious attention to the traffic in this area and vote no until these considerations are factored in for any other zoning changes and development. My neighbors no longer feel like their voices make a difference, and that's not okay. I ask you all to not approve any more rezoning in the neighborhood without considerations to traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else seeking to be recognized in opposition? Okay. With that, folks on both sides being given the opportunity to speak, and no one else seeking to be recognized, I will declare the public hearing closed. And it's back to you, Councilman Parker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to defer second reading by one meeting to the next meeting in April.
Okay. Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay. So this bill has had its public hearing, and you are then deferring this second reading to the second meeting in April. Okay. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. This is deferred one meeting. Second reading. Okay. Next is agenda item 24, ordinance BL 2025-761, sponsor Coupon. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by amending the uses table within Chapter 17.37 Downtown Code to remove automobile parking as a permitted use within the boundary of the 2nd Avenue Historic Preservation Overlay. Councilman Coupon, you are recognized for a motion to get the bill before us.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move the bill.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Back to you, sir.
I'd like to move the amendment.
Okay. There's a motion to amend. Is there a second? Okay. Do you want to share anything about the amendment, sir?
Would look to the planning table if we want to share a little bit of context on that.
Okay. Planning, you're recognized on the nature of the amendment.
Sure. It simply corrects a typo.
Okay. It is a housekeeping amendment. Good to know.
We were making sure I was paying attention.
Okay. All right. So there is a motion to amend properly seconded regarding the housekeeping. Ms. Allen, you don't seek to be recognized on the amendment. Okay. Any discussion on that amendment in particular? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to amend, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, now it is back to you, Mr. Coupon, for a motion on your bill as amended.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move to defer this to the public hearing in the first meeting in May.
Okay, so Mr. Coupon has moved to defer this to the public hearing of May 6th as amended. Is there a second on that? Okay, properly moved and seconded, and we're on to discussion. Ms. Allen, are you seeking to be recognized now? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Just a question that maybe could be cleared up between now and when this comes back. The table that was included shows a lot of uses, but not all the uses, and I just wanted to make sure that that's just because they're not changing and not that they're going away.
Okay, planning. Ms. Milligan, you're recognized.
Sure. So that table is exactly the table that's currently in the downtown code, except for one exclusion. So it's just adding an exclusion on parking to a certain small subsection of the code. So it's only one small change, but we include the whole table.
The whole table. So, for example, what I'm looking at is recycling, which was something we talked about on the other side of the river. And I don't see that here, and I thought that it was in the rest of the downtown code.
Ms. Milligan, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
I don't believe it is. I believe that we added it on the East Bank, but it had not been included in other parts. And this is a sort of a limited scope amendment just to deal with parking, standalone parking. And so we have not broadened it to add any other uses.
Okay, but we're not taking it anyway.
We're not taking any away. Well, except for that parking in a small area.
Thank you. Okay,
Yes.
thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Is anyone else seeking discussion on the motion to defer as amended? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this is deferred for public hearing to the meeting of May 6th as amended. Next are agenda items 25 and 26. They are companions to each other. Ordinance BL 2025-762 and 763, sponsor Cash. 762 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by changing from CS to SP zoning for property located at 2908 12th Avenue South, at the northeast corner of Kirkwood Avenue and 12th Avenue South. This is 0.33 acres, and then ordinance 763 requires certain materials to be restricted at those same addresses or address. Mr. Cash, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open for 762 and its companion 763. Would all members of the public here in support of these bills please raise your hand? Thank you, back row. Would all members of the public here in opposition to these bills please raise your hand? Seeing no one here in opposition, do those persons here in support seek to be recognized to speak? They are shaking their heads no, Mr. Cash. And so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion.
I'd like to move approval.
Okay. Mr. Cash has moved approval of 762 and 763. Is there a second for that motion? Second. Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, 762 and 763 have passed their second of 3 readings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cash. Okay. Next, we're on to agenda item 27. This is ordinance BL 2025-764, sponsor Greg. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by changing from IWD to MUNA zoning for properties located at 183 Little Green Street, approximately 41 feet southwest of Edgar Street. This is 0.19 acres. Councilman Greg, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open on ordinance 764. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Seeing no one here in opposition, do those persons here in support seek to be recognized and speak? They are shaking their head no. And so with that, Mr. Gregg, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move for approval.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Next is agenda item 28, ordinance BL 2025-765, sponsor Parker. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by changing from RS 7.5 to R8A zoning for property located at 2718 Oakwood Avenue at the corner of Bullock Avenue and Oakwood Avenue. This is 0.22 acres. Councilman Parker, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open on ordinance 765. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Thank you. Would all members of the public here in opposition please raise your hand? Okay, seeing no one here in opposition, does the person in the back seek to be recognized to speak in support? Okay, with that, he's shaking his head no. I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Mr. Parker, for a motion.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval with a brief comment.
Okay, is there a second? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. So this one, y'all may or may not know that I'm generally not supportive of these kind of single lot 1 to 2 family up zones. This one this area has some pretty significant topography, and a lot of the homes were built with pretty substantial basements. And what the applicant's seeking to do here is turn the basement level of the home into another dwelling unit to be able to rent it out, or I'm not sure exactly what their plan is, but everything I heard from the applicant was to that effect, and my research into the property was that that is the likely outcome here. So that's why I'm supportive of this one here, and I would ask for my colleagues' support.
All right, you've heard an explanation of Councilman Parker's motion to approve. It's properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, 765 has passed its second of 3 readings. All right, agenda item 29, ordinance BL 2025-766. Sponsor Bradford is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by changing from R20 to IWD zoning for properties located at 2475 Couchville Pike and 1617 Reynolds Road at the southwest corner of Couchville Pike and Reynolds Road. This is 64.24 acres. Councilman Bradford, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Go ahead, request a public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open for ordinance 766. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Seeing no one here in opposition, does the gentleman in support seek to be recognized? He is shaking his head no, Mr. Bradford. So I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you.
Move to approve.
Okay, is there a second? There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill on second reading? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this has passed its second of 3 readings. Next is agenda item 30. This is ordinance BL 2024-767, sponsor Benton. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from AR2A to RM9NS zoning for property located at 1385 Rural Hill Road, approximately 335 feet west of Took Drive. This is 4.03 acres. Councilman Benton, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open for ordinance 767. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Thank you. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Seeing no one here in opposition, does the person in the back in support seek to be recognized? He is shaking his head no, Mr. Benton. And so with that, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion on your bill.
I'd like to move approval, please.
Okay, is there a second? It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill on second reading? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this bill has passed its second of 3 readings. Agenda item 31, ordinance BL 2025-768, sponsor Johnston, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro government, by changing from RS15 to R15 zoning for property located at 5405 Hill Road Circle, approximately 264 feet north of Hill Road. This is 0.64 acres. Councilwoman Johnston, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you. Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open for ordinance 768. Would all members of the public here in support of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Seeing no one on either side, Councilwoman Johnston, I will declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you for a motion on your bill.
Thank you. I will move approval, but I would like to explain and be on the record because this is a little bit of an a different situation.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there a second? Okay, back to you.
So in 2020, right after I was elected, Robert Swope and I, who was the District 4 council member, did a down zone at the request of sort of on the border of our 2 districts. It was a large group of people that obviously wanted to down zone to protect from the stuff that people don't want the tall and skinnies and all that. We had several community meetings. We gave the opportunity for people to opt out of that down zone should they not want their parcel to be down zoned. We had a handful of people. There were very few that did that, but the vast majority of people, I can't remember the number, but we down zoned those to be sort of in accordance with the Creve Hall area, even though this is in the Granbury Hill Road Circle area. About 7 months ago, I got a call from this homeowner wanting to upzone. And I said, I do not want a hit out on me in Creve Hall in this area to do that. And so, but they explained that they actually had asked Mr. Swope for their parcel to be removed. They forwarded me the email. They had it 5 years later where they did send that email to Mr. Swope. He acknowledged receipt of it and said he would remove the parcel. I have no idea what happened after that, but the parcel was not removed and they were rezoned against their wishes, which is the only reason that I'm bringing this forward. It is, to Councilmember Parker's point, I don't like spot zoning either. This area is vehemently against this. I know no one showed up, but I sent a personal letter, hand addressed to everyone to explain what happened so that they know that this is not doing something against their wishes, even though it is against their wishes. But I had phone calls and emails and social media reach out, people very upset about this. And so if you want to know what the neighborhood's thoughts are, it's very much against this. I will actually be voting against this because I know that's what I'm here to represent my constituents, and that neighborhood does not want this. But I do feel like a wrong happened, and so I'm going to leave it to you. I'm in a bad spot, so now you're all in a bad spot to figure that out. It was really hard, and I struggled with it for a while. So that's why this is here. No one is in favor of this, but I did feel like I needed to bring it forward because there was something that didn't happen, that things didn't work properly 5 years ago. So I will move approval, but I will be a no vote.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That is indeed unusual. But it is a motion properly seconded. You've heard the explanation of Councilmember Johnston. And is there any further discussion for this item on its second of 3 readings? Okay, Mr. Nash, you're recognized, sir.
I would ask the council lady if she knows what the plan is for that property should it get rezoned.
Okay, Ms. Johnston, I'll allow it. Go ahead.
The home for several years has been rented, and so they have not told me what they want to do. I think at the time that we spoke on the phone about it, they didn't know what they wanted to do. They just wanted to have the right to do what they thought that they had the right to do. So I've got no idea what they're planning to do.
Okay. Mr. Nash, do you have any other comments, sir?
I do not.
Okay. Next in the queue is Councilwoman Evans Siegel. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank the council member for her explanation of this issue. That was very helpful. I guess I'm curious if the council member at the time said that this person would be accepted out, and that was this person's understanding. Is there any potential liability or claims that this person could bring for not being opted out and being zoned against their wishes at the time?
Let's see. Do we want to direct that to Ms. Fox from Metro Legal? Go ahead, ma'am.
Sure. Laura Fox from Metro Legal. You asked if the person was told they were going to be accepted out of the zoning and then they were not. I don't think that there would be any liability because I think that they still would be subject to the public notice to making sure that actually happened and it passes 3 readings. And so I think because they have notice, constructive notice that this process is going on, there is a duty on them to make sure that what they were told is happening actually happens. So I don't think that there's any liability for Metro in this case.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. I understand why the council member is in the position she's in. I I think it's our duty as council members not to lie to people. And so even though the neighborhood is opposed to this, I think I'm going to support this tonight on second because it seems like this person was misled by their council member, and that seems like a wrong that we should right for them because we should not mislead people. But that's all.
Okay, is anyone else seeking discussion on this matter? Okay, we're only on second reading here, so we can do this by voice. All in favor of the motion to approve on its second of three readings, please say aye. Any voting no? Okay. Right. Oh, wait, ooh, okay. Well, there's a lot of no's now. Okay, alrighty. So I think we do need to go on the board. Yeah, I'm just, in abundance of caution, going to go on the board. We only, though, I apologize, we only need 20, we need 21. It's a majority. Okay. A majority of those voting. Okay. Could I just have a quick show of hands? I apologize, Mr. Clerk. Hang on. Who were the no's, just quickly? Okay. We do indeed have a majority of the body voting in favor of this on second reading. I do apologize. There was just a kind of a swell there of no's at the same time the hands were raised. So I'm going to go ahead and call that this has passed on its second of three readings. Okay. Again, it will have a third reading as well. Okay, agenda item 32 is ordinance BL 2025-769, sponsor Bradford. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from R20 to IR zoning for property located at Reynolds Road, approximately 1,780 feet southwest of Couchville Pike. This is 9.82 acres. Mr. Bradford, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open for ordinance 769. Would all persons here in the public in support of this bill please raise your hand? Thank you. Would all members of the public here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Are you genuinely here in opposition? Okay. Hi. So seeing no one here in opposition, just friendly folks in our gallery, I am going to declare the public hearing, or well, I'm going to ask the gentleman, does he seek to be recognized? No, he does not. He is shaking his head no. Thus, I will declare the public hearing closed. It's back to you, Mr. Bradford.
Move for approval.
Okay. There is a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. 769 has passed its second of three readings. All right. That concludes our public hearing. Next is agenda item J. This is our consent agenda. All resolutions and second and third reading ordinances on this agenda are included on the consent agenda if recommended for approval unanimously by all committees to which the item was referred. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. The item number, along with the resolution and ordinance number of the items on the consent agenda, will be read by me, after which members of the council may remove any item from the consent agenda by request before the consent agenda vote is taken. Okay? All right. The first resolution proposed for the consent agenda is agenda item 33. This is RS 2025-115. Next is agenda item 34, RS 2025-106. Next is Agenda Item 35, Resolution 2025-1107. Agenda Item 36, Resolution 2025-1108. Agenda Item 39, Resolution 2025-1111. Agenda Item 40, Resolution 2025-1112, 1112. Agenda Item 41, Resolution 2025-1113. Agenda Item 42, Resolution 2025-1114. Agenda Item 43, Resolution 2025-1115. Agenda Item 44, Resolution 2025-1116. Agenda Item 45, Resolution 2025-1117. Agenda Item 46, Resolution 2025-1118. Agenda Item 47, Resolution 2025-1119. Agenda Item 48, Resolution 2025-1120. Agenda Item 49, Resolution 2025-1121. Agenda Item 50, Resolution 2025-1122. Agenda Item 52, Resolution 2025-1124. Agenda Item 53, Resolution 2025-1125. Agenda Item 54, Resolution 2025-1126. Agenda Item 55, Resolution 2025-1127. Agenda Item 56, Resolution 2025-1128. Agenda Item 58, Resolution 2025-1130. Agenda Item 59, Resolution 2025-1131. Agenda Item 60, Resolution 20, nope, that is not on consent. Agenda Item 60 is not on consent. So that concludes the resolutions proposed for consent. Now we will move to bills on second reading proposed for consent. First among those is Agenda Item 92, Ordinance BL 2025-772. Agenda Item 93, Ordinance BL 2025-773. Agenda Item 94, Ordinance BL 2024-774. Agenda Item 95, Ordinance BL 2025-775. Agenda Item 96, Ordinance BL 2025-776. Agenda Item 97, Ordinance BL 2025-777. Agenda Item 98, Ordinance BL 2025-778. Agenda Item 99, Ordinance BL 2025-779. Now moving into items on third reading that are proposed for consent. First among those is Agenda Item 100, Ordinance BL 2025-706. Agenda Item 101, Ordinance BL 2025-733. Agenda Item 102, Ordinance BL 2025-734. Agenda item 103, ordinance BL 2025-746. Agenda item 104, ordinance BL 2025-747. Agenda item 105, ordinance BL 2025-748. And that concludes the reading of the consent agenda. Do any items need to be removed from the consent agenda? If so, if members would please join the queue to request that. All right. Councilman Taylor, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you. Agenda item 59, RS 2025-1131. I'd like to move from consent.
Okay. Mr. Taylor has requested the removal of agenda item 59. That is RS 2025-1131. Okay, that will be removed from consent. All right, next is Councilwoman Kimbrough. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Item 46, RS 2025-1118.
Okay. Ms. Kimbrough has requested the removal of, from consent of agenda item 46, resolution 2025-1118. That will be removed from consent. Are any other members seeking to be recognized to remove an item from consent? Okay, seeing none. We're going to do this a little bit differently this time with Mr. Spain's new rule for council rules of procedure being in place. Mr. Clerk, are all committee reports in for the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, all committee reports are in.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Members, is there a motion for approval of the consent agenda? Okay. Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. Council has passed all items on the consent agenda. Much more quickly, given our new rule. Look what we can all do together. Good job. Yay. All right. Now we're going to move back to resolutions and go in order for those items that were not on the consent agenda. Okay. All right. Okay. First among those is agenda item 37. This is Resolution 2025-1109, sponsors Porterfield, Evans, Welsh, Gadd, Toombs, and Ellis. This is a resolution appropriating a certain account for the benefit of the hospital authority in the amount of $10 million. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports. Budget and Finance voted for RS 2025-1109, 8 in favor, 1 against, 0 not voting.
Okay. And for the report of the Public Health and Safety Committee, Chair Evans, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Health and Safety voted to approve this, 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Evans. And it's back to you, Ms. Porterfield.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move for approval with a brief explanation.
Properly moved and seconded. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is an amount for up to $10 million to make sure that Metro General is able to operate at the level in which they are currently operating for now to the end of their year. This will also address some of the issues that were brought up in the audit. Another thing that was brought up in budget yesterday was, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, Vice Mayor. It was something that I wanted to lift up that was brought up in budget yesterday. The state funding. There is also an anticipation of some state funding that we have historically received. That funding has been delayed, and we are unsure if we will receive that funding at this time. So this will help stand in the gap for some of that funding. And with that, I ask for approval.
Okay, there is a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. And we are on to discussion. Is anyone seeking to be recognized? Okay, I see no one seeking to be recognized, so we will move to the vote. This is a resolution that only has one reading. We will try it by voice, but if we do have a no, we do have to go on the boards, okay? So all in favor of Resolution 2025-1109, please say aye. Aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, we can record the singular abstention. Mr. Clerk, do you have that? Okay, all right. So this resolution has passed. All right, next is agenda item 38, Resolution 2025-1110, sponsor Porterfield and Toombs. This is a resolution authorizing the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the claims of Joseph Webb against the Metro government of Nashville and Davidson County and the Metro Hospital Authority of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $890,813.26, with said amount to be paid from the Judgment and Losses Fund. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted on RS 2025-1110 and voted 8 in favor, 0 against, 1 not voting. And that was the only committee that it went to. So I would like to move for approval with a brief explanation.
Okay, is there a second on the motion to approve? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Back to you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We had a great discussion about this yesterday in Budget and Finance. I know we did have a couple of people to speak on this today, so I just wanted to make sure that in the event that any of our council member colleagues had any questions or didn't get the opportunity to review this in budget, this is a claim from Dr. Webb with regards to retirement benefits, in which the Hospital Authority Board voted to give the retirement benefits to Dr. Webb. This is something that the board had the authority to do, so there were questions on whether or not the board had the authority or the autonomy to do this. The board was within their legal purview to be able to do this. Director Dees was able to speak to us on yesterday and address any questions that came up. One question that came up was, if we do not approve this, then what could potentially happen? What could happen is that we could owe out more money if we do not approve this today. So this is not a claim on anyone's performance or anything of that nature. This is strictly a claim on money that is owed to Dr. Webb. So I'm rising in support and ask my colleagues to do the same.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Porterfield. And so there's a motion properly seconded, and we are on to discussion. First in the queue is Councilwoman Johnston. You are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This gives me such heartburn. And I don't like going against the Department of Law, because we've seen what happened very recently when we did that with Mr. Turner. However, this Metro General Hospital has had a history of mismanagement, and it's extremely unfortunate because of the people that do depend on that hospital, as the lady so eloquently spoke during public hearing. We just allocated up to another $10 million, and we have to think that it has to be attributed to the mismanagement there. We allocated $62 million in our last budget to this hospital. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not so sure that the hospital authority in 2020 or whenever it was did have the ability to go and retroactively award that. I think we may be in a situation where we don't have the ability to prove that they did or didn't. But I just do not want to be on record. I've seen the audit. We've seen the investigations, and an audit and an investigation are two different things. There are other investigations that are coming forth based off of other tips. We've had this discussion in audit based off of other tips and complaints that have been going on or that have come in. And so who knows where that's going to go. I understand we're not talking about awarding someone for great behavior or great work performance, but there is just something that goes against my grain to award that kind of money, taxpayer dollars, to someone that has done the things that he has done. And I'm glad he's gone. I mean, that was part of the thing. It was like, this is part of it, is that he left. I'm not going to be on record allocating taxpayer dollars for this, and so I'll be voting no.
All right, next in the queue is Councilwoman Toombs. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I do want to echo the sentiment of my colleague, Councilwoman Porterfield, that this settlement has nothing to do with performance. It is solely based on a retirement claim. I also want to caution my colleagues in terms of adding acrimony to what is already a strained relationship between Nashville General and the city when it's supposed to be our hospital. In 2017, as we know, former Mayor Megan Berry made an announcement that the hospital would close its inpatient services. There was a community uproar, and Nashville General has never recovered from that. Dr. Webb actually brought some stability to the hospital. There are still a lot of folks who work for Nashville General who are also living in the community that are very supportive of him, that feels like he did a good job as the hospital CEO. The hospital received a grade A from the Leapfrog Hospital Safety. As part of the food pharmacy, they delivered 270,000 meals. That's for folks who have diabetic patients, cancer patients, so that they can have the proper nutrition. That was under his leadership that the food pharmacy was created. Under his leadership, the number of insured patients increased at Nashville General, which increased the revenue. So again, let's not add to the acrimony. We are moving forward. Let's pay him what he is owed, what our legal department has determined is a proper settlement, and let's move forward and do what's best for Nashville General Hospital. And I do want to add that I am a proud patient of Nashville General Hospital. I delivered 2 babies there before I became a council member, and it wasn't because I needed to go there, it's because it is an excellent hospital that provides excellent care, and my children and myself continue to use Nashville General to this day. So I want to put that out there. It is an excellent hospital. It has not suffered under Dr. Webb, but we're moving forward and doing what's best for the hospital. And I ask my colleagues to support this resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Toombs. Next in the queue is Councilman Cortez. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to thank the Department of Law for walking us through the situation yesterday. So thank you for the explanation on that and showcasing what liability Metro would take on if we did vote this down. Referencing the public comment this meeting, I do understand how there could be some transparency issues with the public and some concern there. So if it is within the legal purview of this body, I do think we should take a look at boards and commissions who are making moves like this where there is a retroactive adjustment to a pay scale that is substantial. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Next is Councilman Bradford. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is a question maybe for Metro Legal. When watching everything from yesterday and hearing some of the comments from Director Dietz, part of his concern was that some former board members would testify under oath one way, but never did I hear any explanation if there's any documentation written down stating that Dr. Webb was owed back retirement or back benefits. Can someone explain if there's any evidence showing?
Happy to direct that to the administration. Legal Director Dietz, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, there is documentation. The board minutes of, I think it's the January, but it might have been another month, but in 2020, the board minutes reflect that the board voted unanimously to give Dr. Webb a retroactive retirement package to the commencement of his term. The unanswered question was, did that go back to 2015 or did it go back to the first year his contract was up in 2018 or did it go back all the way to 2015? It's not just the testimony of the 3 former board members. There are board minutes that reflect a unanimous vote in favor of this retirement package.
Thank you for that explanation, Director Dietz. I'm very troubled by this. We've seen in the last couple of years the direction that the leadership at Nashville General has gone, the confrontational relationship they have developed with their landlord, Meharry Medical College. And it's just troubling that it seems like we are yet again rewarding an individual with that is basically shown bad faith, but we're rewarding them with nearly $1 million for doing absolutely nothing to help our city, help the hospital. And so I want to join with my colleagues in voting against this. I do not believe that this money is justly deserved or justly earned by Dr. Webb. And I think that it should be a smaller amount. And I don't believe we should be giving bad employees $1 million. Thank you.
All right, next is Ms. Evans, Chair Evans of Public Health and Safety. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I asked a lot of questions yesterday, so I'm not going to repeat those questions, and I did feel satisfied by the answers, and I really respect the law director and his perspective on this. One of the unique factoids about me that most people don't know is my husband is a former Metro General Hospital employee. And so I have a vantage point that's a little bit different, and I can definitely attest to the fact that there's a lot of really amazing quality leaders that work at the hospital that continue to kind of put patient care and center that care, first. So I also kind of echo the sentiment that I think the amount is too high. If the amount were maybe in half, I probably would be a yes tonight, but I'm going to vote against primarily because if I were the spouse of a current Metro General employee and this was a vote, that I was considering, I feel like it would be very demoralizing as an employee whenever we're dealing with a hospital who has equipment that is not functioning, where the leaders that we discussed cannot appropriately take care of patients, where there are situations that are occurring that I hope are rectified as part of this next budget related to how the unhoused population is treated, and especially in conjunction with transferring them to the rescue mission, and some very specific details that I brought to the authority's attention, but I can't in good conscience support this decision tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Next is Councilman Parker. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I did watch yesterday's budget discussion on this matter, and I would definitely, anybody who's interested in this proposed settlement, go back and watch that. There's a lot of context and a lot of information about what's before us. I'm, of course, like many members, troubled by the dollar figure here. But I do, from that thorough discussion, believe that there's kind of a core liability that we would still be exposed to absent this settlement as well. I mean, Metro Legal has negotiated a release of all claims against Metro from the party in this proposed settlement. And that's got me just zooming out to kind of the big picture with Nashville General and the need for us as a city to come up with a plan for the future of Nashville General. I think I'm going to support this tonight. I'm going to support the law department settlement here because I think it's really important that we turn the page and that we get ready to really have that conversation about the future of the hospital and how we can ensure that it's going to be there for generations to come. So I will be supporting this tonight.
All right, thank you. Next in the queue is Councilwoman Welsh. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. If I heard correctly, Director Deach just said that it was in 2020 that the hospital board approved this. I'd really like to know why this didn't start in 2020. Why wasn't the retirement payment made in 2020 and then retirement money towards this retirement package done every year or every paycheck, how all retirement plans are done? Why was this approved in 2020 but no money was retroactively given for the years prior and then continued to be given each consecutive year? Why are we doing this in one lump? Why was that not done?
All right, I will direct that to the administration. Again, to Director Dietz. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. The short answer is I'm not sure. But based on a review of the documents and talking to people who were on the board at the time, it is my understanding that they intended to give him the retirement benefit going forward, which in fact they did. And in his last 3 years of the contract that is ending on June 30th, he's getting the full benefit of this retirement program. What they did vote to do was to approve it retroactively. And why they did not, there are a couple of things that are uncertain based on the record. Why did they not amend the contract to incorporate that? They didn't. I can only speculate that the passage of this retirement benefit was mere weeks, maybe 5 weeks before COVID hit, and the whole world started to shut down. So I don't know what happened then. I was not there, and I did my best to get to the bottom of it. But the board did give him this benefit on a go-forward basis. He is getting that benefit every month, this month, and he will through June 30th. So the board action was to make it retroactive to the first year of his contract, 2015. And that is the claim that was presented to me by his very able attorney, Jason Holloman, and documented by an accountant's calculation of the lost earning potential on the corpus, on the principal amount. So that's the best I can do with that.
That's a little bit disconcerting that we don't know why that didn't happen. And I kind of feel like we should know a little bit more about that because this is quite a large lump. I'm not sure that I would like to move for a deferral, but that seems to me a very open question that we should know the answer to this before this is actually put forward to us to vote on and approve. So I would like to, if I could, perhaps reserve the right to jump back in the queue after I hear a few more questions and get more information.
You can always get back in the queue, as can any member.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, Ms. Porterfield, to that same point, sponsor, I don't believe you used your full time prior. That said, there are other members of the queue, in the queue who have yet to speak. Do you seek to be recognized again at this time? I mean, we can't know if that's, okay. I will recognize you, Ms. Porterfield, go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And Director Dees, thank you for lifting up some of the things from the conversation yesterday. Before I get too far into some of the things I want to say, thank you to Vice Chair Toombs, who so eloquently lifted up several of the points that I brought up in committee yesterday. So for the sake of time, I won't repeat those. One thing that Director Dees did share with us yesterday, and Vice Mayor, if you could direct the question to Director Dees, he did talk about when the estimate was done, this being a conservative estimate. So I would offer if Director Dietz could speak to that for the body, for the sake of the full body hearing that.
Mr. Dietz, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, the 5% calculator for lost earning potential is a conservative estimate. If you look at annuities over the same period of time, those annuities average 5.5%. If you look at the stock market over that period of time, the stock market averaged gains of 13.5%. So the 5% calculation was in fact a conservative number, and I took that into account in dealing with the settlement proposal.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And then one more question for Director Dietz, if I could. It was my understanding yesterday, and I just want to lift this up to make sure that I'm understanding that correctly, was that if we don't go forward with this and that this claim does go forward, there is a good chance that Metro will be liable for a higher amount. Is that correct?
Go ahead, Mr. Dietz.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, and it's not just that the lost income potential would continue to accrue over the years of this litigation. So this number would increase by 5% a year, but also we would not get the benefit of a release of all claims against Metro. And part of the negotiated settlement was that Dr. Webb agreed to leave on March 14th in order to permit Metro, the hospital authority, this body, everybody to turn the page and move forward with the planning for the next stage of the hospital. And to me, that was very important value to Metro.
Thank you, Director Dietz. And just to highlight that, that's lost income for years while we are waiting on this to be settled. That is a 5% claim for years while we are waiting for this to be settled. So if you do not want Dr. Webb to get $890,000, please believe if we vote this down, we're looking at Dr. Webb getting a lot more money than $890,000. So feel free to vote your conscience. And I also wanted to remind people to please be mindful of how we are talking about the People's Hospital that provides excellent care and service, not just for indigent people, but for insured patients, myself included. I am a patient of Metro General Hospital. I appreciate the service that they have continued to provide for us. A claim was made that there was nothing to help the hospital, and that is not true. Thank you,
Your
Vice
time has
Mayor.
expired. Ms. Lee, you're next in the queue and you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I think this is a question for you that may go to legal, because I'm kind of unsure about exactly what's going on. Seems like this whole retirement settlement package was agreed upon some years ago. And so that if now we are talking about something that was agreed upon years ago, and I'm not talking about who does what, how well something does. I'm talking about an agreement that was made. Aren't we opening ourselves up then now to be sued if we try to go back on something that was understood and agreed upon years ago?
I feel like Mr. Dietz has already addressed that question, Ms. Lee, but with respect, I will pose it again. Mr. Dietz, Director, can you answer Ms. Lee's question, please?
Is it a yes?
Yes, it is my understanding that Dr. Webb will file a lawsuit over this claim. And there are also concerns he may have other claims against Metro. Those claims are being released as a part of this agreement. But I have been working with his attorney since last fall on this claim for a retirement benefit. Dr. Webb fervently believes that he is owed it. There's some documentation to support his claim so that we will not win on a motion to dismiss or even likely a motion for summary judgment. So this is a disputed claim that will go to trial with an uncertain result. To me, putting a lid on this and getting the other benefits that we have gotten in this agreement is in Metro's best interest.
Go ahead, Ms. Lee.
So it seems to me that while we are worried about different things in the hospital, and I will say I'm also have been a patient of the hospital and love the type of service that I got. To me, this is really talking about it as a moot point because there was an understanding, there was I don't know, a handshake, a contract, or whatever you said, but that should have been done. So I think we should go ahead and move on.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Councilman Nash, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. There comes a time in life when we all have to do some things that causes heartburn, that we have questions about. But the facts of this case are that there was an agreement made, and our legal staff has decided that, found evidence that, in fact, it was made. We can be mad at the board, we can be mad at the legal department, but the facts are the facts. And I would encourage everybody, again, I'm going to hold my nose while I do it, but this is a resolution that needs to be approved.
Thank you, Mr. Nash. Ms. Johnston, you're recognized.
I think this question is, thank you. I think this question is probably for Director Dietz as well. The money that was agreed upon to go retroactive, I think, was never funded in the account, correct?
Mr. Dietz, you're recognized. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, that's correct. It was never funded.
Okay. And so Director Crumbo was there at the time, correct?
Go ahead.
In 2020.
In 2020, I'm not sure. I came in 2021. It may have been Director Crumbo, but I'm not positive of that.
I'm just wondering that when you have a decision like that by a board or commission, which I think we need to address, and I'll be working on that, thank you. If the finance director does not in turn fund the decision, I would think that the director of finance would have had reasoning behind doing that, to just make a unilateral decision to not fund that. And like I said, I can't remember if it was Mr. Crumbo or whoever. But it just seems odd to me that we would have a decision made to retroactively award a benefit, but the finance director didn't fund it. On what basis, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Mr. Dietz, do you feel like you can answer that based on your research? Or that need to go to finance?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not aware that there was ever a direct request made to Director Crumbo. I don't know if that happened or not. Look, this situation's suboptimal at a minimum. But we are where we are. We have a board that voted for this. It was not funded. It is a threatened claim in litigation. It's a big amount. Everything about this is uncomfortable one way or another. But at the same time, we have to look at this as lawyers analyzing the risk to Metro if we don't resolve this versus the benefits we get if we agree to this severance agreement. And so I understand all this. I will remind you again that the world stopped just a few weeks after this board awarded this benefit. We all went into limbo for 15, 16 months during COVID. So
I'm going to lose my time, so I just want to ask one more question. I appreciate it. Is this a simple majority vote?
It's 21. It's a resolution.
So it requires 21 votes, not a simple majority.
And if there are no's, we will have to go on the board. It requires 21.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Next in the queue is Ms. Benedict.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Colleagues, what I want to say in a lot of fronts has already been said. Number one, Dr. Webb made a tremendous amount of improvements to Metro General. Number two, as we've just heard, the board approved this, and in this particular case, I trust our legal department, but I particularly trust them on this one. I think if they felt like there was a possibility of beating a lawsuit about this, they would let us know that. They've got a track record of just having not beat one, that then we had to approve a different settlement because this body voted against the settlement in that case. I unfortunately wasn't here for that vote, but in hindsight, if I would have been here, I would have held my nose and voted for it. And so I would encourage my colleagues who want to vote no on this, sometimes the right thing to do is to approve a settlement, even though, to the last comment, it's uncomfortable. So I'm not going to hold my nose to vote in favor of this, but if you feel like this is not something that should be approved, I would suggest we listen to legal in this case and vote in favor of it. And I wish I could call previous question, but I can't.
Can only be recognized solely for that purpose. Ms. Ellis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. While I understand the seriousness of the moment, I just wanted to take a point of personal privilege and welcome back Director Dietz. I believe this is his first time on the floor since his health scare, so welcome back, sir.
That's very kind. Thank you, Ms. Ellis. Thank you. We appreciate you and welcome you back, Mr. Dietz. Thank you. Ms. Lee, do you seek to be recognized again? You are last in the queue. Go ahead.
May I want to give some of my time to Councilwoman Johnson, but then I want to come back to me. Can we do that? Can you switch us? I'll agree to switch with her.
So,
because my time is going down while y'all trying to decide.
I know. You can yield your time to Ms. Johnston because I do not recall that you used up the entirety of your time. This is a little bit challenging, colleagues, because we're directing questions to the administration that is giving lengthy answers. So I'm giving a little leniency here. But Ms. Johnston, please, respect and recognize you've had a fair amount of time. We want to keep things balanced.
I know.
Thank you.
I just, I know that I've swayed some people to a no. I'm going to change my vote to a yes, actually. I think it's not ideal. I think suboptimal is probably the best way, not the best way. There's some other explicit words that I would say. But I don't want to put the city in a situation where we open ourselves up to further litigation. I do want to just be rid of this. But I'm glad that several of us are on the record as saying that we don't like this at all, that none of this feels good. But our obligation is to the taxpayer. I don't want what happened with Mr. Turner a few weeks ago to happen. I am going to trust our law director that this is in the best interest of the city, even though I don't want to say the S word, but it does. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Lee. Well, you are the last person in the queue, Ms. Lee. Okay? So seeing no one else seeking discussion, we will move to the vote. Okay? Because we need a precise count on this and knowing that we may have some no's, Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the machine. Okay, with all votes in, Mr. Clerk, please show the vote. Okay, this resolution has passed with 34 votes in favor, 1 vote against, and 4 abstentions. All right. The next resolution that was not on consent is Agenda Item 46. This is Resolution 2025-1118, sponsors Porterfield, Evans, and Benton. This is a resolution accepting the terms of a cooperative purchasing master agreement for public safety, unmanned vehicle systems, and associated services for the Department of Police. Ms. Porterfield, Chair, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, Budget and Finance voted for RS 2025-1118, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, thank you. And Chair Evans for the report of the Public Health and Safety Committee, please, ma'am.
Yes, we recommended approval, 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay.
Move for approval.
All right. There is a motion to approve, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, Ms. Kimbrough, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I had this pulled, but my question's been answered. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. So we will move to the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. This resolution has passed. Okay. Next is Agenda Item 51, Resolution 2025-1123, sponsors Benedict, Porterfield, Gamble, and Parker. This is a resolution approving a preliminary engineering agreement between CSX Transportation, a Virginia corporation, and the Metro government to facilitate a bridge replacement over CSXT rail at West Due West Avenue. Ms. Benedict, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Okay, for the report of Budget and Finance Committee, Chair Porterfield.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted on RS 2025-11.
Oh, I'm sorry, pardon me.
Just kidding. All right. We voted 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for a 1 meeting deferral.
Okay, and for the report of the Planning and Zoning Committee, Chair Gamble.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning voted for 1 meeting deferral, 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, and for the report of Transportation Infrastructure, Chair Parker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We recommended a 1 meeting deferral, 9 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting.
Okay, with those committee reports in, that is Rule 8.1, a 1 meeting deferral by rule. Okay, so that will be deferred to the meeting of April 15th. Next is Agenda Item 57. Resolution 2025-1129, sponsors Hancock Webb, Eastlick, and Benton. A resolution requesting Mayor Freddie O'Connell to compel the Metro Nashville Police Department and the purchasing agent to complete the procurement of license plate readers for use by the Metro Nashville Police Department. Councilwoman Hancock, you're recognized.
Withdraw.
Thank you. This is withdrawn. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Point of order, Vice Mayor. Multiple committees voted to indefinitely defer this legislation. So do we need to move forward with an indefinite deferral?
No, ma'am. The withdrawal will supersede that. The sponsor is recognized, and I can go to Ms. Darby for an interpretation of that. Special Counsel Darby, can you speak to that?
The sponsor is permitted to withdraw the resolution prior to asking for committee reports.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Ms. Porterfield. Okay, this bill is withdrawn by the sponsor. All right, next is Agenda Item 59, Resolution 2025-1131, sponsor Taylor, Toombs, Coopin, Kimbrough, Gamble, Webb, Ellis, and Benton. This is a resolution honoring the life of Metro Nashville Police Department North Precinct Commander Anthony McLean. Mr. Taylor, you're recognized, sir. Oh, I apologize, sir. Wrong button. Go ahead.
Thank you. Did you hit Mr. Bradford's button?
No, sir. Oddly, I hit Mr. Gregg's, which has nothing to do. I don't know if there was a blue suit thing. I don't know what happened, sir. I can't
I'm buying
really
a new
say.
color suit.
All you dapper gentlemen back there, I'm just pressing all the buttons. Go ahead.
Thank you. Committee reports.
Yes. For the report of the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee, Mr. Prep T, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The committee considered the resolution, voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for approval.
Okay. All righty. Back to you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. This was extremely important to me. This was extremely hard. I skipped the newsletter last meeting because I wanted to honor Commander McLean, and I couldn't bring myself to writing the words on the paper. And I did today, and the thing that I came up with my title of my newsletter was I'm Direct. And if anyone knows Commander McLean or has ever emailed him, called him, messaged him, texted him, whatever, you'd tell him your piece. You'd say, hey, we've got to get this done, or can you help me with this, or whatever it may be. And his simple response would be, I'm direct. And that's a shorthand way in the military or police officers to say, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. And that was exactly who Commander McLean is, was, and forever will be. He will always be direct. He's going to take care of it. He's not going to ask any questions. He's going to be calm. He's not going to go too high. He's not going to go too low. But he's going to be direct. And so today, the best thing that I can say to you, Commander McLean, and his family is that I'm direct, and I appreciate all that you did for North Nashville, District 21, the North Precinct, and he'll forever be in our memories. He's done a lot in a little time. He didn't say a lot, which made him say even more. And I think that that's the way I think we all should be. And so I just wanted to pull this off. I generally don't pull resolutions off, but this is extremely important. He's a person that served this city for 27 years. And in that 27 years, Commander McLean was always direct.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for the kind words. I do need a motion, sir.
Move approval.
Okay, so we're on to discussion. Councilman Coopin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you to my colleague for bringing this resolution. Words don't describe how special Commander McLean was to the community. I only got to know him for a short while in my time of service at Metro Council and previously as a neighborhood leader. But he was a 27-year veteran of MNPD, and he passed at the way too young age of 53 years old. That means that he spent half of his life serving the Metro Nashville Police Department. Half of his existence on this planet was serving this city and serving this community. He delivered meals with the Nashville Predators to the local MDHA housing. He was always responsive. He was always so caring, so deep into the community. This comes as a shock to all of us. It was heartbreaking when I heard the news. I know many others feel that way. And I just want his wife and his kids and his family and friends to know that we're thinking of them, we're praying with them, and we won't let Commander McLean's memory go. And it'll be something that I personally will carry with me as I go forward as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coopin. Councilman Nash, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I rise to kind of second the emotions here tonight. I had the privilege of our careers overlapped for about 14 years of his 27, and always smile on his face, ready to come to work, competent, friendly. He was the kind of policeman you'd want in your neighborhood. And those of you who knew him, he was a big guy, and I always kidded him, don't you ever take your shoulder pads off. It was like he's playing football all the time. just a big man, a great guy, and he will be missed. I was asked if we might be able to also invoke the rule where everyone in the positive.
12.3, Mr. Taylor, I'm looking at the sponsor, and we're going to amend your motion to apply 12.3 such that all voting in the affirmative will be recorded as sponsors. Is there a second for that amended motion? Okay, all righty. On we go.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Of course. Ms. Suara, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I actually got in the queue because of the 12.3, but I just wanted to add my condolences to the family and to also reiterate and echo all the great things that he did in the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Suara. Councilwoman Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I stand in support of this resolution. Commander McLean also served as the commander over District 2. Was always so helpful. What I like most about Commander McLean is that he was willing to think outside of the box. He would always say that we can't police our way out of society's problems, and that strong communities need fewer police. And so for that reason, I mean, he would go, particularly young men, because he was a father of 3 sons. For young men, he would go to their homes and say, how can I help you? What services can I connect you with? It was really important for him to get to the root cause of problems. And so for that, I am forever thankful. The future, the incoming commander of the North Precinct is going to have some really big shoes to fill, because he was definitely one of a kind. And I'll say myself and Councilman Taylor, Councilwoman Stiles, and Councilman Nash, and I think maybe 1 or 2 others attended his funeral. And that was one of the most amazing things that I've seen in my life, the way that they honored him. It was really fitting for a man who lived such an honorable life. And I just want to lift up his memory and send condolences again to his family.
Thank you, Ms. Toombs. Ms. Kimbrough, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd just like to say that Commander McLean served District 1 well. I could call him on the weekend. I can call him on off hours. He always responded or sent someone to respond. And I think I can honestly say he was Nashville's finest. And I appreciate everything he did.
Thank you, Ms. Kimbrough. Ms. Hancock, you're recognized.
I just want to add and thank him for his service in the United States military, 4 years in the Air Force. And if you want to come out and pay your respects to the National Cemetery in Madison. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Hancock. Thank you, members. All very, very kind words. And thank you, Mr. Taylor, for bringing the resolution. We have no one else in the queue for discussion, so we have a motion to approve with Rule 12.3 applied such that all voting in the affirmative will be recorded as co-sponsors, properly seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. We have passed that resolution. Last among our resolutions is Agenda Item 60, RS 2025-1132, sponsors Swara, Toombs, and Ellis. This is a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Charles Kimbrough. Ms. Swara, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
For the report of the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee, Chair Prep T.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. We considered the substitute and voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting in favor of the substitute, and on the resolution as substituted, 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, thank you, sir. Back to you, Ms. Swara.
I'd like to move the substitute with an explanation.
Okay, if you could just move the resolution to get it before us, please.
Yes, please.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. And then now I heard you say you wanted to make a motion to substitute.
Yes,
Is there a second for that as well? Okay, any explanation or otherwise? We'll just move to the.
Yes,
Okay, go
it's
ahead.
just, I'm sorry, thank you, Vice Mayor. The substitute is housekeeping corrections. It was that we got the widow's correction after the original was filed.
Okay,
And so,
all righty. Is there any further discussion on the motion to substitute? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? And then lastly, a motion on the resolution is substituted.
I'd like to move approval of the motion as substituted with Rule 12.3 applied with brief comments.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, so there's a motion to approve the resolution as substituted with Rule 12.3 applied, such that all voting in the affirmative are listed as co-sponsors, properly seconded. Go ahead, Ms. Swara.
Thank you. This motion is to recognize one of the leading civil rights icons in our city, and one that actually lived here for a very, very long time. Dr. Kimbrough was a U.S. Army veteran of the Korean War. He had the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, the Combat Medal Badge, and a Korean Service Medal. Dr. Kimbrough was also the president of the NAACP, was actually instrumental in starting the NAACP in Nashville and actually progressing and making it what it is today, as well as in other places as well. Every time there's anything going on in the Black community, since I've moved here, even when he was in the wheelchair, you will always find Dr. Kimbrough there. He served very well. So many people did so many things, and it's with honor that I'm glad that we get to do this resolution to honor him. And with that, I renew my approval, my motion for approval.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, this resolution has passed as substituted. Thank you, Ms. Swara. All right, okay, so now we are moving into first reading. Without objection, all items on first reading may be voted on at the same time. Do any items need to be pulled from first reading consideration? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion for approval? Okay, of all items on first reading, let's see. With a motion and properly seconded, you have, without objection, you have approved all the items on first reading. Okay. Now we are moving to agenda item M, which is a late filed bill or bills, plural, because they are companions to each other. And so they can be taken at the same time as it relates to reporting as well. And so I'm going to go to Chair Prep T first on the late nature of the bill. Chair Prep T, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. We considered the late filed nature of the bills, considering where they were in the planning process, and voted to approve the suspension of the rules on both 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, so you've heard that report. I guess I did that a little bit out of order, Ms. Toombs. But do you want to request to suspend the rules?
Suspend the rules.
Is there any objection, having heard the report of Chair Prep T, to the suspension of the rules? Seeing no one objecting, the rules are suspended. Go ahead.
Move for approval.
Okay, okay. Are you moving approval of both bills?
Both,
okay.
yes.
I do need to read them into the record. Yep, okay. So just for clarity, M1, M2, bills without numbers, as they were, late filed, sponsor Toombs. The first is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metro Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metro Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from IWD to RS 7.5 to SP zoning for various properties along Dickerson Pike, Lemuel Road, Jones Street, Locust Street, approximately 343 feet south of Kenneth Drive. This is 106.9 acres, and its companion, the second, M2, which is an ordinance that requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of the buildings. So those have been read into the record. You have heard the consolidated motion of Ms. Toombs to pass both of these bills on their first of 3 readings. It has been properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, both these bills have passed their first of 3 readings. Okay, now we are moving into bills on second reading. First among those is Agenda Item 90, Ordinance BL 2025-770. Sponsors Porterfield and Toombs. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 2.40 of the Metro Code of Laws relative to the Department of Law. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, Budget and Finance considered BL 2025-770 and voted for a 1 meeting deferral, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, and according to Rule 8.1, that is a mandatory 1 meeting deferral by rule. Okay, so this bill will be back on second reading at the meeting of April 15th. Okay, next is Agenda Item 91, Ordinance BL 2025-771, sponsors Sepulveda, Prep T, and Parker. This is an ordinance amending Title 15 of the Metro Code of Laws to amend the membership and credential requirements of the Stormwater Management Commission. Councilwoman Sepulveda, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Okay, first for the report of the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee, Chair Prep T.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. We voted to approve, 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, and for the report of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Chair Parker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We recommended a 1 meeting deferral, 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting.
Okay, then by Rule 8.1, that is a mandatory 1 meeting deferral by rule. This ordinance will be back on its second reading at April 15th meeting, second meeting in April. Okay, moving right along. Ooh. All right, y'all. That's it. Is there a motion to adjourn? Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 15th, properly seconded. We are adjourned.
Hooray.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. What happened there? I was thinking that was gonna.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.